that was good. I want to get back in there.
There's a word for it. It just escapes me.
So that can happen then?
Yeah.
Yeah. When's the last time you talked to somebody that talks about dreams and that? You know, all the different things?
From time to time. We might do it again soon. I think Caroline had it planned anyway, so you've ruined that.
That's good, you know.
When are you going to give a clue to the secret sound?
What did you say, sorry?
When are you going to give a clue to the secret sound?
I don't have my headphones on, I can't hear you.
I remember that first clue you gave.
That's...
To that young fella. Do you want me to say it?
No, do not. Get you out of that. I forget about that. I never give no clue to no young fella.
Well, you did. He was on one morning and you said...
No, I did not say. No, I did not.
You did.
Are you serious?
No,
I wouldn't give a clue out unless I would have to give. If I give one clue to one person, I'd have to give it to everybody. But it was on the radio.
No, I don't think it was. No, you gave it to everyone. Obviously, you never said it to him in a pub.
Right.
No, you did say it on the radio.
I don't be in the pub, but yeah, okay. I'll think about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think so actually. See, because a clue ruins it. I think a clue ruins it, right? Because then what happens is people have two things to do: A, eliminate whether it's to do with the clue, and then guess it. Right, so that's two things.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if someone has that idea and they haven't been able to get through and then you give the clue, that's unfair. So that's three things.
Oh, God, my brain bamboozled. But just on that note about the clues, right, there's some people that would be cross if you give out a clue. And the reason why, because then I give a clue, right, say if I say blah, 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 and then somebody the next day wins it and thinking...
Well, that's what I've just said, and you said I was overthinking about it.
But you give me three options. I'm just giving myself one.
Anyway.
See, I have to go. I need to lie down here.
Slán. See ya tomorrow. 9 o'clock or a minute past at this stage. Let's get that news update with Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Kellybegs is to benefit from a total €50 million investment to future-proof the region's fishing processing sector, as well as maintaining and increasing jobs. There are hopes the investment will divert fishing vessels and catch to Donegal away from other countries. Tara Duggan reports.
Several companies are currently undergoing substantial developments which will modernise seafood processing facilities and add cutting-edge energy efficiency initiatives, according to Bordish Gawara. Gallagher Brothers Limited and Killybegs Seafoods are both making substantial investments with support from the Brexit Process Capital Support Scheme. They've been allocated a share total of €12.1 million and spending a total of €31 million. The major investment hopes to attract more fishing vessels to land and discharge catch that might otherwise go to the UK, mainland Europe, Norway, Iceland and the Faroe Islands.
The first group of parents who undertook the My Child, My Vision programme celebrated a graduation event this week. The project aims to give the parents tools to support their children's transition from primary to secondary level. Errigal College in Letterkenny, Deal College in Rafo, Finn Valley College in Stranorlar, Skullbridge Awara Primary School in Convoy and School Wara Primary School in Stranorlar were their participating schools in the project, the fifth pilot nationally and a first in Donegal. Home School Community Liaison Coordinator for Finn Valley College, Ashley McGeehan, said for many parents it can be daunting.
You know, this process was, I suppose, a little bit daunting at the start for these parents because, as you said, no formal education, maybe returning to education after a very long time. And, you know, that's what our role is as HSELs. We support the parents through this process. And the parents then, they're inspiring their children then to progress in education and to value education. And that's the importance of this programme.
Donegal communities are being encouraged to take the lead from a rural village in the west of Ireland which stamped out pesticides in water supply. For years, pesticides exceedance were an issue for Newport's water supply in County Mayo, but a targeted team approach has seen the supply removed from the EPA's list of vulnerable water supplies. Michaela Clark has more.
Uisce Éireann is encouraging people in Donegal to follow in the footsteps of the community of Newport and consider the environment and alternatives to pesticides when gardening, farming and maintaining sports grounds. As a result, drinking water, they say, will be improved. In Newport, the local community worked with representatives from the Local Authority Waters Programme, Mayo County Council, the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, National Federation of Group Water Schemes and Animal and Plant Health Association. Uisce Éireann and the MPD WAG are asking the farming community, greenkeepers, groundskeepers and also domestic users of pesticides to consider in each case whether they need to use the pesticides at all.
And looking now to weather, rain and drizzle this morning, which will be heavy and persistent for a time. The rain will gradually break up in the afternoon, but it will stay mostly cloudy. Quite blustery as well, with moderate to fresh southwest winds and highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. That's all for now. The next news update is at 10 o'clock. In the meantime, keep up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. From myself and the news team, good morning.
For unbelievable value, head to Aldi this Halloween with pumpkins in store now from $1.29. Children's Halloween costumes only $6.99. In store 1st of October. Spooktacular snacks and tasty treats from 79¢. And devilish Halloween decorations from $1.99 in store the 1st of October. So if you want to conjure up something really wicked, it's got to be Aldi, Ireland's most reputable supermarket.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 6 minutes past 9. It's Thursday the 5th of October. How are you all keeping? I do hope you're very well indeed, and we welcome you on board for the next 3 hours here on the 9 till Noon Show, and you can just sit back in your car, in your office, at home, and just listen. But if you're so inclined and you want to get involved in the conversation, please feel free to whip out your mobile phone and WhatsApp or text us to 086 60 25,000, and keeping in mind that if you prefer to send a voice message to that number, then do so on WhatsApp. If you want to give us a call, Caroline is chomping at the bit. 07491 25,000. We want to hear what you want to talk about too. And if email is your thing, from anywhere in the world, of course, it is comments at highlandradio.com, and we've got a very visual show today. So if you want to hop on board and watch it, we have every day, but just today in particular, I think, feel free to open up the YouTube app on your smart TV or your Fire Stick and put in Highland Radio Ireland and watch us live there on your big screen. And you can watch us on YouTube and our Facebook pages, Highland Hub, Highland News and Sport, on your laptop, tablet and mobile devices. You know yourself, but we want you involved whichever way you do. We really appreciate it. It is a Thursday morning, which means there's loads of papers out this morning. So let's have a run through what's making the headlines. The Tyrconnell Tribune leads with the farming story, as new figures show an increase of almost 40% in the number of dairy cows in Ireland in the last 10 years. Farming interests say there's a very real prospect of the nitrates derogation being lost entirely. These concerns have emerged with the new stats from the Irish Cattle Breeding Federation, showing the number of dairy cows in the country has increased by 456,000 since 2013. Spokespersons say this increase is close to 40%, and it poses real challenges for the industry in retaining any derogation from the EU. We're going to be talking about that a little later on in the programme. In fact, quite soon in the programme, so stay tuned for that. The Donegal news this morning. The parish priest in Milford said he's been truly taken aback by the generosity of the local community, who have responded to an appeal for help for essential repair works at the town's St. Peter's Church. Parishioners in Milford were faced with a potentially chilly winter when the boiler at the church broke several weeks ago. Replacing the old boiler that was over 2 decades old was going to set the parish back over €10,000. And as Milford parish priest Father Stephen Goleman told the Donegal News, this was money that they simply did not have. And he recently took to the altar and humbly pleaded with parishioners, asking for donations to cover the costs. And just 3 weeks after making his appeal, Father Goleman said the parish have donated over €6,000, which is a very generous amount, no doubt. The Donegal Democrat this morning. Creeslough will fall silent on Saturday, 1 year on from a tragedy that claimed 10 lives in the Donegal village. At 3:17 p.m. on October 7th last year, an explosion ripped through the Apple Green complex. 10 people, including 3 children, were killed. Rescue workers and volunteers worked through the night. A rescue operation became one of the recovery as a grim reality took hold. And on Saturday, the first anniversary, a memorial service and commemoration will be held on the site of the blast at 3 p.m. Saturday evening's vigil mass will take place at St. Michael's Church and will be offered in memory of the 10 and in thanks to all who responded by Father John Joe Duffy. And I just want to mention something posted by Father John Joe as it relates to that remembrance service. I just want to bring it up because it's important and just mention it while we're talking about it. The families are respectfully asking that this be a time for them, for our communities and for those who responded. All who responded on Saturday 7th in the days thereafter and since are very welcome to attend on Saturday at 3 p.m. and Mass at 7:30 p.m. All who are from neighbouring communities, the services and all impacted by the tragedy are welcome to attend. And obviously here we're keeping our respectful distance as well, as I hope you'd expect. The Derry news this morning. Derry City and Strabane District Council has been told by the housing executive it's run out of options and is placing children in the non-standard accommodation. Housing Executive Chief Executive Grania Long said it only seen as last resort option but has happened too many times. She was speaking at the council's governance and strategic planning meeting on Tuesday. Let's go to the Nationals now. And Minister for Media Catherine Martin has indicated that the government might be willing to reverse its decision to retain the TV licence in light of the Ryan Tubridy pay controversy and the rapid decline in RTÉ's income since the summer. At a meeting of the Oireachtas Media Committee yesterday, Ms Martin said the change of fortunes for the national broadcaster had changed her mindset over the future funding of public service broadcasting. In June 2022, the government rejected the central recommendation of the Future of Media Commission that the TV licence be scrapped and be replaced by direct exchequer funding. Ms Martin commissioned a technical working group and set out options for modernising and reforming the licence without scrapping it. It's reported its findings earlier this year, but the government paused any further work on the issue over the RTÉ payments controversy arose, or once it arose. Now, just don't think for a second that if it so happens that the licence fee is scrapped, that you won't pay for the services. What hiss on my headphones? Wonder what that is. Maybe it's just the headphones, but I know it's slightly distracting. But you'll end up paying it one way or other through revenue collected charge or through direct taxation. We were speaking about gambling earlier this week. We dedicated Monday Matters to it. We recognise and have for quite some time that it's a major issue. It's often goes under-discussed, I think, under-reported, but it has a huge and devastating impact on the person who's addicted to gambling, but quite often those around them as well. And just by coincidence, this week, the ESRI has published new research which shows 1 in 30 adults have a problem with gambling. 1 in 30 adults, which is really quite significant. Problem gambling is 10 times more common in Ireland than previously thought, with 1 in 30 adults suffering from negative experiences associated with betting. New research from the Economic and Social Research Institute found problem gamblers were each spending on average more than €1,000 a month on gambling. €1,000 a month. The research strongly suggests that the prevalence of problem gambling here is far wider than previously understood, and that significant amounts of industry profits are coming from people who are struggling with gambling. The ESRI found that almost half of the $5.5 billion spent on gambling every year is estimated to come from people who are experiencing multiple negative effects from gambling. €5.5 billion gambled in this country every single year. Isn't that remarkable? Let's go to the Farmers Journal now. And forward store cattle are making upwards of €3 a kilogram this week, a €100 a head lift on the same week last year. The store cattle trade is being described as on fire, with a combination of Northern Ireland buyers and Southern beef finishers competing for forward stores. Exports of Irish weanlings are running 40% ahead of last year, with increased interest for cattle coming from North Africa and the Middle East. A disease outbreak in Portugal and Spain has forced North African countries to source cattle elsewhere, and it seems farmers in Ireland are benefiting. On to the Nationals now, and a really quite bizarre story out of the Irish Daily Star. A surfing Garda is at the centre of a criminal investigation for allegedly harassing another member of the force, including with bananas, it's emerged. The Star has established that the officer is alleged to have tormented the female Garda with bananas after learning she had a phobia of the fruit. It's alleged he used bananas as part of an ongoing campaign of harassment and stalking against the female officer. the alleged harassment is of a very serious nature, a source told the paper. And sources have told the paper that Garda detectives began a criminal investigation into a complaint against the West of Ireland officer earlier this year. And the paper's established that investigators are now preparing a file to the Director of Public Prosecutions for it to consider whether the officer should be charged with harassment of the female Garda as well as with criminal damage. That relates to an incident in which it is alleged he broke into the female officer's locker at a West of Ireland Garda station as part of an alleged campaign of harassment against her. Now, the pair knew each other, but the female officer did not want a relationship with the suspect, and he is then alleged to have begun harassing her over a lengthy period, pestering her. It's understood he regularly left bananas in Garda cars that he knew the female officer would be using, as well as in rooms at the station. At one stage, a more senior officer brought the Garda into an office to speak to him about his alleged behaviour, but he claimed he had a banana on his head the whole time the meeting took place. So he was harassing this female Garda with bananas, leaving them in cars, and just generally waving bananas in her face, it seems. And then when he was interviewed about the incident, he sat throughout the investigation, throughout that interview, with a banana on his head. Right. And that is literally a story in the newspapers today. It is bananas. It's a very interesting phobia, though. I suppose there are people out there that have particular phobias. Most it's heights or spiders or rats or mice. Do you have a particular phobia? Not making light of that story for a second, but do you have an unusual phobia? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. Do you have an unusual phobia? If you want to give us a call, it's 07491 25,000. Get involved in that conversation. The Sun this morning, the Samaritans received an average of 1,400 calls a day last year. 1,400 people rang the Samaritans every day last year. Demand for their help rocketed by more than 10% in 2022. The Samaritans Ireland Impact Report for 2022 was launched yesterday. It revealed the number of calls answered rose by 45,000 last year, with their volunteers spending some 65,000 hours on the phone providing support. So that is a huge level of demand for those services. And Euro 28, the footballing competition, will be in Ireland. Ireland legend Ray Houghton is delighted Ireland and the UK are set to host Euro 2028. The player turned pundit, who's 61, believes the news, which is expected to be officially confirmed next Tuesday by UEFA, will inspire a generation of young football fans. He also said the prestigious tournament will be an opportunity to showcase Ireland to supporters from around the world and could make the Emerald Isle a go-to holiday destination. And the real reason Ireland and Britain are going to be hosting it is because Turkey, who were also in the running, withdrew their application. Okay, look forward to that. Maybe even get down to see a game. Wouldn't that be cool? Right, 086 60 25,000. WhatsApp and text to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Step into our showrooms at Foy & Company in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet this month, and you'll be transported into a realm of endless possibilities. Imagine lounging on a luxurious leather sofa, hosting friends at a stunning dining table, or sinking into a cloud-like mattress and bed at the end of a long day. Reserve now to ensure delivery for Christmas. Also shop online at foys.ie. Finance is available. Inquire in store at Foy & Company, Letterkenny and Ballybuffet.
My spelling always stopped me from doing things. But thanks to my class with Donegal Education and Training Board, I've learned how the computer can help. It was hard to take the first step, but now there is no holding me back.
Literacy changes lives. Make a change in your life today by contacting Donegal ETB and find a class that suits you.
If you'd like to volunteer to help someone make that change, call in to your local Donegal Education and Training Board Further Education and Training Centre.
Supported by Adult Literacy for Life, the Government of Ireland and the European Union.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. time to call McElhenney and Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order, and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing, or voluntary transfer. Call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
Book in to iMotors to get your car autumn ready. As weather conditions change, it's vital that you get your car health checked. Book in today for a checkover or annual service. Visit imotors.ie or call into our showrooms in Letterkenny or Malin.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Time is 9:20. Now, as you know, we've been covering the changes to the nitrates levels here on this programme for some time. Minister Charlie McConalogue says in a statement, I sought maximum flexibility from the EU Commission in relation to the reduction in the maximum limit to 220 kilogram per hectare. When it became clear that it was not possible to change this requirement, I moved quickly to bring clarity to farmers impacted by the reduction from next year. And a final map has been published. We're joined by Paul O'Brien, IFA Environment Chair. Good morning to you, Paul. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to you, listeners.
The final map has been published. I think there's 3 pockets of areas, small enough really relative to what's going on elsewhere in the country, in Donegal affected by this. So just to give us some context, why would we have these smaller areas in Donegal impacted by these cuts?
Okay, well, Greg, we're now in our 5th nitrates action plan, starting back from 2005, and it runs every 4 years normally, with 2-year reviews. And look, all of the time, I suppose, fine-tuning what we're doing as farmers. Since 2018, we've had to, I suppose, farmers who are in derogation, who are farming over a figure of 170. So I'm going to be throwing lots of figures at your listeners today, but everyone can farm up to 170 kgs of organic nitrogen per hectare. If you wish to farm over that, up to 250, you have to apply for a thing called a derogation. So there's more stringent controls on you. You have to do considerably more measures on your farm, upwards of 30 measures above and beyond what is requested of normal farmers farming under 170. So it's a very well scrutinized, I suppose, process, and farmers have become very, very used to that. In order to allow you to farm between 170 and 250, you have to do these measures and have to try to improve water quality. And farmers have done that. So, Greg, I suppose the question is, there has now been a view that some of the water quality hasn't been improving quick enough. Now, I would dispute some of that, because we do have, compared to the rest of our European counterparts, fantastic water. We have probably the 4th best quality water in the whole of the EU, maybe 10 times less problems than other European countries, particularly the heavy industrial countries. But bringing it down to the 3 pockets that are probably in Donegal, there's one fairly substantial one, probably just northwest of Letterkenny, and there's a couple in the Inishowen Peninsula. And really at that stage, why they've been highlighted is that, they're now dropping to 220 from this 250. So it will impact farmers in the area, there's no doubt about it.
And just so for people outside the industry are aware, so the areas then outside of those pockets in Donegal, what rules apply to them?
So every farmer so there is this new map. So this new map means that farmers in these shaded areas or in the purple areas on this map, they can only farm up to a maximum level of 220 kgs. So if they were previously farming at 250, they will have to take action, whether that's a moving of slurry from their farm to other parts of the county where they're able to receive that slurry, whether that's a reduction in herd size, and I would be totally against that, or other measures.
Land acquisition presumably would be one of them as well.
And in a county like Donegal, where every square inch of land is farmed, that's going to create considerable pressure. You have a tillage sector up in Donegal, and what we can't have is a competition from dairy farmers trying to gain land on the land rental market and push out other parts of the industry, particularly the tillage and particularly, say, the dry stock farmers who need a certain level of farm holding just to become, I suppose, economically secure and be able to give an income for them and their family.
Yeah. So what will this, the majority of farmers that are affected, I presume, are, small to medium sized holdings. What impact will it actually have on them in terms of income changes? And we also have to be conscious that many of these farming families or businesses may have loans leveraged against their income. They may have recently got out, bought new machinery, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? So it's not like they're sitting there, with zero outlay on their assets and all that kind of stuff. This is like someone in full-time employment being told they're getting a 10 or 20,000 per year pay cut and wondering, well, how am I going to meet my bills? It's the same really for farmers. So what kind of an impact do you imagine this might have on your average farmer in these shaded areas?
My father used to say to me, and he was a very wise old man, farmers buy themselves a job. So you have to put money in to try to get a living back. At the top of the show, Greg, you talked about 456,000 new cows, dairy cows, that are now in the industry that were not there maybe 10, 15 years ago. Once milk quotas became abolished, or there was the signal from the European Union that quotas were going to be going in 2015, the industry stepped up. The industry was on handcuffs from the early 1980s. So there was always going to be a considerable pent-up demand. It was government policy at the time to drive agriculture and expansion, basically because the rest of the country's economy was down. We had come off the back of a very, very difficult period of economic, and we all know about the troika, and we all know about that. But agriculture is seen as the green shoots, the shining lights of the industry. So there was always going to be expansion of some shape or form. But I think the problem is, Greg, is that now we've been asked to put a handbrake on the Titanic. And this is the problem. I would strongly dispute a lot of the figures that are coming from the EPA. I'm not going to knock them. They've been given a job to do by the Commission, which would suggest you have to find a trend. But you can't find a trend on 2 points of a graph. A trend is over a longer period. And I do think, Greg, that the problem that we have now is that we've been asking farmers now to completely, have to redesign their farming models with only a few months to go until they have to start designing this model. And it's very unfair on our farmers.
But the circle that people struggle to square in all of this is the fact that, we could be importing milk into this country. The fact that this is about the environment, and we get that, but we could end up seeing beef being imported from as far away as Brazil into Europe and then finding itself onto Irish shelves. The environmental impact of that. And your average person will look and say, well, right, okay, we all have to do our bit, right? But we are also still going to be consuming this produce, and instead of it being, grass raised and us actively working to farm in better ways and to protect our waterways as much as we can, without actually proof how much the farming industry is contributing to the problems that we have, we are going to effectively destroy an industry, as some would see it. I'm not saying that's the case, but at the same time, we're going to start eating beef with, thousands of air miles on it. Trees cut down to accommodate its grazing, frozen, God knows, not knowing where it's from, not knowing its quality. We're going to lose brand Irish. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be in the farming industry to wonder how any of that makes sense. Other than maybe our sacrifice to the EU is our fishing industry. Our sacrifice to the EU project is our farming industry, and we'll become just really covered in solar panels and hosting big tech. Is that really our cut of the EU pie?
Well, look, I'm very positive about farming and farming credentials. We have the most sustainable grass-based system in the EU, and that's recognised. We have the lowest carbon footprint for our dairy industry, CO2 levels per litre of milk, with the 5th best for beef. So our credentials stand up to anybody, any scrutiny. If you do this thing, and you're alluding it to, it's called carbon leakage, Greg. So if you allow other countries to gain access to our markets who have less sustainability records than us, is that a good thing? Emissions go into the air and they're spread all around the world. And, they don't stay state or region specific. They move around the world. So surely we should be encouraging our farmers to grow crops and produce beef and produce dairy and produce lamb and all of the good things that we do here. Surely we should be recognised that for the work that we've done.
Well, I'm sure the argument would be made that that's why we have the derogation. That is the reward and recognition, because we're one of only 3. Now, other countries have derogation on different things as well. Let's be really clear about that. Yeah. But perhaps the reward for us being good boys and girls is that we get this derogation. But holding on to that derogation, I think, is going to be a serious problem over the next few years.
But I was just about to say about, our credentials. We do things very good here. We have to fine-tune things and we have to improve. As I said, these new 13 measures, they've only been there for the last 4 or 5 years. A lot of these measures are only really there for the last 9 months, 10 months since the start of this year. We don't know which one of those measures is going to be the silver bullet solution. So there's a lot of damage being done to this industry and the repercussions and the knock-on effects to other parts of our industry because of this decision by the Commission. I'm not going to say ideal. Well, I am going to say a certain amount of this is ideological thinking. Farmers are working hard, but you can only run a thriving business if you know certainty. And unfortunately, I do believe that this is going to create considerable uncertainty within our industry. And that's very, very unfortunate. No business would accept some of the terms and conditions that in 3 months you have to drastically change. And I do think, Greg, our farmers, they work hard. They're very conscientious of our environment. They know that we have to improve water quality. They know we have to improve biodiversity. They know we have to improve our emissions profile, but they also need a living. And we can't be green if we're in the red. Mm-hmm. And we need this just transition to help us on this route to produce more efficient food going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we have to wrap it up, but you would have heard yesterday the reports of it's going to cost Ireland €700 billion to get to net zero by 2050, and pretty much most of that, a quarter of it or a third of it being lumped onto farmers. So it's going to be tough times ahead. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Paul O'Brien, thanks for your time this morning. I do appreciate it. He's IFA Environment Chair. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. Donegal's actually not too bad when you look at the map, indeed. Much of Donegal is not included in it. There's 3 parcels in and around Milfordy, Fanad area, and then up around Malin and another spot then as well. Teagasc advised all farmers to push and increase until they start to tell us now to slow down. It is mixed messages, and that was alluded to there by Paul there. All right, so 86 60 25,000 coming up in the next few moments. We're going to be joined by pro boxer Jason Quigley, and we're going to be speaking about the return of pro boxing, a big boxing night to Letterkenny, to Donegal. It's been, I think, 12, 13, 14 years, maybe 13 years since the last pro card was put on here in Donegal, but it's back. It's coming back.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Ready for winter? It could be a busy one, so it's best you're prepared. Help protect yourself and the people around you by getting your winter flu and COVID-19 vaccinations at the same appointment. Our trusted, experienced team are on hand to help at Boots pharmacies across Ireland. Book in-store or online at boots.ie/flu. With you for making the most of this winter. Boots, with you for life. Eligibility criteria apply. Charges may apply subject to availability.
Are you completing your UCAS application? CAFRE offers degree courses in food, agriculture, equine and horticulture. Come along to CAFRE's October Open Days. Talk to students, meet staff and explore the practical facilities at Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college. Book now to attend an open day at Greenmount Campus, Enniskillen Campus and Loughry Campus. Register online at cafre.se.uk or visit Discover Caffrey on Facebook.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual office address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save your business hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
Tinny's Toys, Ireland's largest farm toy superstore, isn't just about farm toys. We've loads of fun outdoor toys for kids, such as electric scooters, crazy carts, electric quads, jeeps, tractors, and so much more. Hassle-free parking at the door with no traffic jams. Our Christmas club is now open too, and a wee deposit secures your item. Tinny's Toys, Leck Road, Letterkenny, or online at tinnystoys.com. Lay down.
The Donegal Senior Football Championship has reached the semi-final stage, with both games live on Highland this weekend. Join us for full match commentary of Gweedore against McCool's on Saturday from 4. And then on Sunday at 3:30, it's the Dr. Maguire Cup holders, Naomh Conaill against St. Junans. Live coverage of Donegal in this year's Senior Football Championship is brought to you by Highland Motors in Letterkenny, with the all-new award-winning Dacia Jogger 7-seater. Overall winner at the 2022 AA Ireland Car Awards. Available for immediate delivery.
All right, a listener has a phobia of rain. When I'm home, I clean. Night rain, it's worst. I've tried therapy. Okay. So they clean the house when it's raining. They find light rain worse. Have you got a phobia that's somewhat unusual? That's a nightmare for one, particularly in the part of the country we live in, and very little respite in the summer either. Greg, when did the maternity ward in LUH start making pregnant women go through the ED? A family member is almost 8 months pregnant, ran maternity to be told she had to go through the ED, where she had to wait 7 hours before she was sent through to maternity. I know this wasn't the case in January, as I had my baby at the end of January and needed to call them a week before I gave birth. I was told to come straight to maternity. When did this change? Well, it's been ongoing for a while. And it's not just if someone's 7, 8, 9 months pregnant and they need to go in. Unfortunately, if someone has a suspected miscarriage, we've spoken to women who've had to go through ED, and it's a very difficult environment in any case, but particularly when you're not quite sure what's happening. You could be bleeding and having to go into the toilets or wait to get into the toilets. It's a horrible, shocking situation. And unfortunately, we've highlighted it on this programme on a number of occasions. We did get a press release which outlined the reasons as to why, but it's been in place for quite some time. So when did it change? I can't put a figure on it or a date on it, but it certainly has been in that situation. It's been that way for a while. Gambling statistics analysis for idiots. I'm not quite sure what that means, but anyway, thank you for your text. We do appreciate it. Right, okay. We're joined in studio by our next guest as they take their seat, and it is professional boxer Jason Quigley. Quickly. I'm going to have to do it twice.
Very good, very good.
Jason, good morning to you. Great to have you in studio.
Likewise, great to be in here.
What's the story with you? What are you up to at the moment? Are you in training? Are you between bouts? Are you what?
Yeah, we're training now. I'm always staying
You're
in the gym.
Between bouts.
Yeah. Always between bouts. Always staying in the gym. Always staying ready. But yeah, we've got some, I think, exciting news today for Donegal and Donegal boxing.
You're not going to talk about your situation then. That's quite... See, easy knowing you're in the media game as well, Jason. Isn't right? Enough about me. I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
I'll come back to you maybe because we are talking about professional boxing returning to Donegal. It's a big deal, isn't it? It's been quite some time, Jason.
Yeah, I think it's 13. It is 13 years now since professional boxing has been in Donegal. And that was Paul McCluskey for a European title in the Aura complex.
It was an EBU title, was it?
Yeah. So it was a fantastic night back then. I wasn't there myself, but I remember hearing all about it, and I think I was away myself on the national team boxing. So, but an unbelievable night. So it was super atmosphere, and that's what we're looking to bring back in here now again.
And it's good to see professional boxing returning to Ireland, isn't it? I mean, there've been some activity in Northern Ireland, of course, as well. But we had Katie Taylor's big performances, big shows. Another one coming up shortly, and a few other smaller shows as well. It's great to see this sport back live on the island.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Eddie Hearn actually came out recently there and says that Ireland need Katie Taylor for boxing, and that may be true right now at the minute. You know, in terms of like 3 arena big headline shows. But I want to throw another few fighters into the mix for that, and I want to bring Irish boxing back up to the level that it deserves to be. And I believe that it comes from the roots. Do you know what I mean? It comes from, you know, old school way of growing and building fighters is taking your base from you from the very start. You know, growing from where you're from, and family and friends coming out to support you, buying the tickets, building your following along, and let people come along on the journey with you to those stages where maybe you get to the States and fight for European world titles, whatever it may be.
Did you feel you missed that, Jason? Obviously, you know, you had great support through the amateurs, but, you know, we saw what happened with the likes of Steve Collins, Byron McGuigan and others. You know, they had their big nights in Ireland. Did you miss that a little bit, that you'd have, you know, your family and friends and pockets of supporters, but you kind of always really had to travel to build your record? Definitely.
You know, looking back now on my career, of course, I don't know if I would change a whole lot in terms of, like, obviously it was a brilliant contract that I was offered, and going to the States and learning my trade over there, and being in the midst of fighting in the mecca of professional boxing from day one was great. But I would probably more of a business head on myself now, and more of an experienced head on myself. I would have liked to maybe negotiated my contract, whereas I would have been guaranteed maybe 1 or 2 fights at home a year as well. And, you know, because it's not easy, like, for people to fly to the States, and it's not easy to bring that following with you.
And you have to make extra sacrifices as well. I know it's all about sacrifice, but extra sacrifices in long periods away from home.
Yeah, without a doubt. It is a big sacrifice to make, and it mightn't look like that to people, you know, when they see you over in LA and doing all this stuff. And, you know, people don't realise the sacrifices that you do make. And of course, it was my passion. It is what I love to do.
And just because it does form part of this conversation and about building fighters at home and their fan base, you talked about the contract that you received. Does any part of you wish that you'd went down the route sort of with Greensbury or Matchroom and got in domestic, you know, sort of got into a domestic kind of a rival? You know, you see the likes of Ben and Eubanks Jr. and there's a big domestic fight coming up over in Britain on Saturday. Do you have any regrets in that regard, or are you? No, you're not finished yet, but you know, when you look back, do you know where I'm on about? Like, you know, your York Halls and your, like, you know,
without a shadow of a doubt, that's where excitement comes from.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's where the fan base and the following really does come from, as well as those fights where they know somebody from England that you're fighting. Do you know, it's not just like a Mexican that's coming in they're not too sure of. You know, it definitely is something that I can't say that I regret it, because I did have a brilliant time over in the States, and I learned so much over there, and it was an unbelievable experience. You know, it really, really was. But yes, a part of me would love to have done the other side of it as well, and that's where I'm looking at things now.
Because I think we as boxing fans were kind of robbed a little bit of the big nights. You know, I mean, obviously you delivered them eventually, but you know, that sort of you kind of you need to buy into the story now, I think, with boxing a little bit as well. And I mean, obviously the Shane Mosley Jr. and that kind of stuff you could, because of the name recognition, but just not quite that. I wonder how he'd get on against we talked about Billy Joe Saunders, or, you know what I mean?
Jr.
Exactly.
And stuff like that, of course.
That mix,
because that's very relevant to the people here. Like, they know him, they see the people, they know what's only across the water, and different things like that. You know, it definitely is a much more exciting.
But anyway, this is what this initiative is about. And what's your involvement in it, Jason, in terms of putting these shows on?
Yeah, so I'm stepping into the promoting and management side of things as well. and we as Sheer Sports, along with Elite Sports, are going to be running this show. I'm a part of Sheer Sports in America, my management team, but I'm bringing Sheer Sports now into the promoting side of things, and this is going to be our first proper show now that we're promoting, and it's very passionate for me, you know, that I'm having it here in Donegal.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me. There's a lot of hunger there to make this show a success, and there's a lot of nerves there as well. Like, you know, it's a different kind of nerves than actually fighting yourself, that, you know, you're putting on a show and promoting a show that never obviously done this before, but I have a great team around me. That we have Robert Diaz there from the States as well, who has been, I think he's an icon in professional boxing, been with Golden Boy for years, worked with world champions throughout his career. Robert Diaz is going to be there on the night. He's going to be helping us put the show together as well. He's a part of Sheer Sports, and yeah, it's very exciting, and it's something that I really want to do now. Amateur boxing is kind of hitting a bit of a standstill at the minute, and there's a lot of negative stuff going on.
A lot of toxicity there, isn't there?
You know,
is it in this and is it not in this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and I really want to lift boxing in Donegal again, and really, because this is where I came from, this is where I had my first fights and where I grew up, like, so I really want to lift Donegal and inside amateur boxing and professional boxing, but I want this show to show young kids that there is possibilities out there. You know, it's not everything's happening over in England, over in the States. I want to show them that it's here on their doorstep, and encourage young kids to get into the gym, and encourage young kids to get in there, get their license, get their medical, and give this sport a crack again. And that's where my passion is coming from. That's where this show is meaning a lot to me, and I really want this to be a big success.
And there's future world champions out there, all contenders. It's just a case of, you know, how you bring them through, and also we know there's a huge boxing fraternity here in Donegal. We know charity boxing matches, white collar events are really, really well attended. This should be an absolute sellout, but as a promoter now, right? You want to see the tickets go out the door. Like, of course, it will happen, but you know, you just want to make sure that you're. Now, Joe Ward, former Irish amateur, he's 10 into his pro career. He's a hitter. He's knocked out more than have lasted the distance with him. He's headlining the show on his first, because it's a big night for him, his first professional fight in Irish soil.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have Joe up here in Donegal headlining this show. You know, Joe Ward he probably is one of the most talented and successful amateur fighters to come out of Ireland. You know, he's a world medalist, European medalist, and an Olympian for Ireland, and he's an incredible talent. He's signed with Lou DiBella over in the States in New York, and we've been working together with Lou and Joe's team to bring him back to Ireland. This is going to be his first fight back in Ireland, and as I said,
it's good to see you made it easy for him.
Yeah, you know,
11 his opposition, 11 fights, 10 KOs. I don't think you're gonna need the final bell on that one.
No, like this is a fight for Joe Ward. Like, Joe's at a stage in his career now, he's about 30 years of age, and he's at that stage where he needs these competitive fights, and this is the type of show that we want to put on here in Donegal. We want to put on competitive fights. We don't want boys just getting in there and blowing their opponent out in 1 or 2 rounds. We want to put on competitive fights because these fighters are world-class level.
And also you want to give people the opportunity, just like we've been talking about, to see fighters early in the career that they may see in really big fights later on, and James McGivern's among them, I'd suggest.
Yeah, and we just got great news last night that James McGivern is going to be fighting Josh Sanford for the Celtic title in the Aura Centre as well. So it's going to be a cracking fight. James, you know, you have so many fighters on this card that you will see on the likes of DAZN, on the likes of Sky Sports, fighting for major titles. You know, I have massive belief in these fighters, their skill, their talent, the way that they carry themselves. They're incredible, like they really, really are, and it's going to be brilliant to have that type of boxing here locally. And then for the people that come to the show, come to the event, seeing them then being like, oh, we've seen them down in the Aura Centre, and then go and seeing them then live on DAZN and Sky Sports and on the TV.
Well, you feel you've got a bit of direct involvement in their
Yeah.
career. It's a funny thing. It's just when you've seen it live, you feel that sort of. You see it even with people that go who will get it. Is say if you go to a concert of someone who you're not necessarily a huge fan of them, but by the time you walk out, you find yourself listening to them on Spotify. It's the same, but in sport. The Walsh brothers, Liam and Paddy, both undefeated, both big prospects as well.
Yeah, they're both brothers from Down Kerry. They're a great talent. They're both of them are national amateur champions and started out their career now as professionals. Very talented lads that can go a long way in the sport as well. They bring a good following with them. They're exciting. They love to fight, and they're going to be in cracking fights as well.
Yeah, so it's a card of prospects really there, isn't it?
Yeah, we have Tyler Jolly there as well, Scottish lad who's he actually holds the record for fastest knockout in the Commonwealth Games. He's very exciting, very talented. He can whack, he can punch very hard, so his fights might not go the distance, but he's a talented lad, he's exciting, and I believe that he's definitely one to look out for on the show.
Brilliant stuff. It's going to be a great night, and I think the Aura Leisure Centre, that's where it is, isn't it? The Aura,
Yeah.
It is. It's laid out well for it, actually. I think I can imagine where the ring might be versus where the seating might be. So you're right in on top of it.
It's a fantastic venue. I actually only went down there 2 weeks ago to suss it out and to have a good look at it, and the people in the Aura couldn't have been better with the help that they were giving us. But there's tiered seating and everything that comes out from the walls, and you're looking straight down into the ring. We're going to have a few wee new things in there as well, maybe like a stage and the lights and everything for the
we
ring.
need a bit of pizzazz.
Well, of course.
Now,
there's no point in just showing up and going through the mill. We got to put a bit of sparkle on
Brilliant stuff. Right, so it's going to be, and boxing has to be. Boxing shows now have to have that bit of razzmatazz. It's just the way it is, isn't it? It's all very, very exciting. What about getting tickets? Because there's not unlimited capacity here. It can seat 2,000, can it?
Yeah, I mean
that's pretty impressive. So it's going to be some atmosphere. If people want a sense of what it's like going down to the 3 or whatever, you get 2,000 people into that room, you'll know what a big night of boxing feels like.
It's going to be
if you've seen it on the telly, you'll get the sense of it.
It's going to be like, and that's the thing with the tiered seating and it looking down into the ring, it is definitely going to be an electric atmosphere. It's going to be an exciting atmosphere, and it's going to have the quality fights to go along with it as well. So tickets will be on sale in the next week. We're just getting everything together there now with the tickets, and we're released. Everything is just released today for the event.
Brilliant.
And for the fight.
It's fantastic to see you back. It's great that you're involved as well too, because you bring the star power there as well. Are you going to do the ring announcing? Are you?
I don't know if I'm going to do the ring announcing. I could get a nice suit or a tuxedo there and jump in.
I can see you. I can see you giving
maybe sing a song.
No,
we'll
stick to the ring announcing.
We'll not go too much.
Let's not get carried away. Right, okay. So you'll let us know when tickets go on sale. I'd say they'll go out like hotcakes. It's a great, it's a great lineup. Real prospects, people that you can follow the career then from here on. Would you like to have seen, or maybe future shows, maybe a little more sort of Donegal involvement, or what's the story
that is
there?
The vision that I have now. After this show, I would love to have a 3-4 events a year in Donegal.
Wow, okay.
And bring in big title fights to Donegal. And I want this to be the start of it. I want this to get the ball rolling now, get some exciting fights, get people talking about the show and understanding that it is a great night, it's a great event, and it's one that they can remember, and bring that on in now to next year and have a couple of shows.
It's the beginning of a really exciting journey for you as well.
Yeah.
Any idea when we might see you back in the ring, not with a microphone and an ill-fitting tuxedo?
Well, obviously, right now, me as always in the gym, staying ready. We've had a couple of talks about possible fights in the future, probably not this side of Christmas.
Right.
And kind of works out well because I really want to put everything into this show now. And November 18th, but yeah, maybe the start of next year we could be looking to get the gloves laced back up again.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, well, listen, it's great as you say that you can focus on this now and enjoy some time at home too as well, which is really important. All right, Jason, we look forward to it. Let us know when the tickets are available. We'll let everybody else know, and I'm sure it's going to be just a fantastic night. And if people want to feel and you've seen it, you watched it on the TV, you want that sense of big time boxing, well, it's back for the Rumble in the Hills. Jason, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Lovely. Thanks for having me on, lad.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
An emotion stirred. An idea accelerated. That's progress you can feel. And the very definition of the Audi 241 range. From the sporty, iconic Audi A4 and the all-electric Audi Q4 e-tron to the pioneering Audi Q8 e-tron, offering greater range than you can even imagine. Test drive the Audi 241 range at an Audi dealer near you today.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever sale. Up to 50% off everything in store. All tiles, all wood flooring, all outdoor slabs, cladding and bathware. Everything slashed in price. This sale is not to be missed. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever half-price sale is now on.
Caróí the vaccine flu agus COVID-19 leat the chóras a mínachta a nartónaig tinnas chumcúiseach. Multar vaccine flu dich má tá tú 65 nóní sinna. Multar chandáileach fóver COVID-19 dich má tá tú 5 nóní sinna. Multar an dá vaccine dibra chóram sláinte agus déan duine tá gumpar cluine nó bhfuil ruch sláinte fetéarmach orthú. Leir le Dr. Tiley nó cógasúr an fartach nó chun níos mó ólas áil fecar hsc.ie on HSE.
Join the team at Homeland Letterkenny this Thursday, 5th of October at 7 p.m. for a beef welfare evening with special guest speakers including Maura Langan from Norbrook and Tommy Doherty from Chagask. Chat with their experienced Homeland and Nutrias teams with refreshments, goodie bags and exclusive offers on the evening. See homeland.ie for more. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport, where you can now fly daily to London Heathrow with Aer Lingus and connect via Heathrow to over 80 destinations worldwide, including Boston, New York and more.
Okay, a dull, cloudy and rather wet start today with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, which will be heavy and persistent for a time too. The rain will gradually break up in the afternoon, but it will stay mostly cloudy, quite blustery too. Moderate to fresh southwest winds and highest temperatures of 15 to 18 degrees. But things improving tomorrow into Saturday and Sunday, and some talk on the island of Ireland of record temperatures for October, albeit briefly. We shall see. I think it's 25 degrees is the record, not up here, but further down the country. Thanks again to Jason Quigley for calling in. Great to see him, looking in great shape, looks ready to go himself, but we'll not see him lacing up till in the professional ring, of course, until after Christmas, but he's got that show to look forward to. I was watching Beckham last night and his OCD was interesting to watch. It really must be a very tiring condition to have. I feel for your caller who said she had a phobia of rain. I'd imagine her mind is in a constant state of alert living in Ireland. Indeed, yeah, it would be a really challenging phobia to have in this part of the world too, and very frustrating and perhaps even debilitating. It's not one I've heard of before, but we are all different and have all our challenges, and that's a particular one in terms of that phobia. Look, keep your texts calling in. We're going to take one final break before the news and obituary notices. Please stay with us. A very important and interesting hour coming up after the news.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Creative Landscaping Works are the Donegal distributors of millboard cladding and decking. Thanks to its unique polymer resin construction, this decking and cladding doesn't deteriorate like natural wood and won't be beaten for durability. It also has superb slip resistance resistance even when wet, and every board is produced using recycled materials. Live life outside with Millboard at Creative Landscaping Works, Lisnanen and Letterkenny. See creativelandscapingworks.com.
My spelling always stopped me from doing things. But thanks to my class with Donegal Education and Training Board, I've learned how the computer can help. It was hard to take the first step, but now there is no holding me back.
Literacy changes lives. Make a change in your life today by contacting Donegal ETB and find a class that suits you.
If you'd like to volunteer to help someone make that change, call in to your local Donegal Education and Training Board Further Education and Training Centre.
Supported by Adult Literacy for Life, the Government of Ireland and the European Union.
It pays to plant trees. Planting on your farmland as part of the new forestry programme could deliver real financial benefits for you today and in the years to come. You'll get guaranteed financial support, earn ongoing premium payments, and take comfort in knowing there's a secure income stream. Ireland needs to increase forestry to combat climate change, increase biodiversity, and improve our rivers. So for you, for all of us, it pays to plant trees. Explore your options at gov.ie/forestry. An initiative of the Government of Ireland.
The life of a Charlie's Chip is never dull. Once they're selected, they're off to Charlie's, where they lose the jacket, have a nice wash, and once they get into shape and get ready, out they go to meet the public, side by side with a nice burger, some fish or chicken. Enjoy Charlie's Chips to sit in or take away daily from 12 to 8 at Pierce Road, Letterkenny. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. It's emerged an Irish nurse is fighting for her life after being shot in Australia. The 38-year-old from County Mayo is in intensive care in hospital after the incident in Darwin on Tuesday. With more, here's Tara Duggan.
Northern Territory Police were called to a house in the Milner area of Darwin at around 6:30 p.m. local time on Tuesday. They'd been called to reports of gunshots. They found the 38-year-old Mayo woman with serious injuries to her abdomen. She was stabilised at the scene by paramedics and later underwent emergency surgery. She's now in a critical condition in the intensive care unit of the Royal Darwin Hospital. A 35-year-old man who was known to the woman was found dead at the scene. Police believe he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound and say there is no risk to the wider public. The woman is understood to be the mother of a young child.
Killybegs is to benefit from a total €50 million investment to future-proof the region's fish processing sector, as well as maintain and increase jobs. There are hopes the investment will divert fishing vessels and catch to Donegal away from other countries. With more, here's Donna Marie Doherty.
Several companies are currently undergoing substantial developments which will modernise seafood processing facilities and add cutting-edge energy efficiency initiatives, according to Board Escawara. Gallagher Brothers Limited and Killybegs Seafoods are both making substantial investments with support from the Brexit Process Capital Support Scheme. They have been allocated a shared total of €12.1 million and are spending a total of €31 million. The major investment hopes to attract more fishing vessels to land and discharge catch that might otherwise go to the UK, mainland Europe, Norway, Iceland and the Faroe Islands.
2023 is gearing up to be the hottest year since records began. As a fresh heatwave grips southern Europe, the EU's climate monitoring body says last month was the hottest September ever recorded globally, almost 1% above normal. The Earth's mean temperature between January to September has been half a degree Celsius warmer than average. The first group of parents who undertook the My Child, My Vision programme celebrated a graduating event this week. The project is intended to give parents the tools to support their children's transition from primary to second level. Errigal College in Letterkenny, Deal College in Rafo, Finn Valley College in Stranora, Sculvreda Primary School in Convoy and Sculwira in Stranora were the participating schools in the project, the fifth pilot nationally and the first in Donegal. Homeschool Community Liaison Coordinator for FVC, Aisling Geehan, says for many parents it can be a daunting prospect.
You know, this process was, I suppose, a little bit daunting at the start for these parents because, as you said, no formal education, maybe returning to education after a very long time. And, that's what our role is as HSELs. We support the parents through this process. And the parents then, they're inspiring their children then to progress in education and to value education. And that's the importance of this programme.
Donegal communities are being encouraged to take the lead from a village in the west of Ireland which stamped out pesticides in water supplies. For years, pesticide exceedances were an issue for Newport's water supply in County Mayo, but a targeted team approach has seen the supply removed from the EPA's list of vulnerable water sources. With more, here's Michaela Clark.
Uisce Éireann is encouraging people in Donegal to follow in the footsteps of the community of Newport and consider the environment and alternatives to pesticides when gardening, farming and maintaining sports grounds. As a result, drinking water, they say, will be improved. In Newport, the local community worked with representatives from the Local Authority Waters Programme, Mayo County Council, the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, National Federation of Group Water Schemes and Animal and Plant Health Association. Uisce Éireann and the MPD WAG are asking the farming community, greenkeepers, groundskeepers and also domestic users of pesticides to consider in each case whether they need to use the pesticides at all.
And the British Prime Minister has been reported to police for a joke he made about Nicola Sturgeon during a speech at the Tory party conference. Rishi Sunak took a swipe at the former SNP leader. She was arrested and released in June and remains the subject of a live investigation. The complaint's been made by Christopher McElhenny from Scotland's Alba party.
It's unacceptable that he wants to, make crass jokes which potentially interfere with a live police investigation. If he had made those comments in Parliament, he would have been protected by privilege. But because he chose to make them at his party conference, then he's now liable for a contempt of court under Scots law.
Weather forecast: a dull, cloudy and wet start with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, heavy and persistent for a time this morning. That rain will gradually break up this afternoon. It will stay mostly cloudy though, quite blustery with moderate to fresh southwest winds and highest temperatures today of 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. In the meantime, regular updates on our website, highlandradio.com. Good morning.
The obituary notices this Thursday morning, October 5th. The death has taken place of John McGeehan, Manchester and Upper Derry's Glanties, reposing at Shuvlin's funeral home Ardra this evening from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Removal from Shuvlin's funeral home tomorrow morning at 10:15 to St Connell's Church Glanties for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Patrick Ryan, 16, Admiran Park, Stranorlar, remains reposing at his late residence today from 5 p.m. Funeral leaving from there on Saturday at 10:30 a.m. for Requiem Mass at 11 in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. Family time from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, directly to the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland via the online link or care of any family member. The death has taken place of Jim Nallen, 6, Knocknamona Terrace, Letterkenny, formerly Knockmore, Ballina, County Mayo. Jim's remains will repose at his daughter's Katrina's home in Listillion today and tomorrow from 11 a.m, with rosary both nights at 9 p.m. Funeral on Saturday morning, going to St Eunan's Cathedral for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv, followed by burial in Conwall Cemetery. Family time please on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Margaret Elizabeth Miller ní Hamilton, 94 Berryhill Road, Ballylaw, Artigarvan. Family and friends are welcome to her home today from 12 noon until 9 p.m. House private at all other times, please. Funeral service will take place in Lech Patrick Presbyterian Church tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining burying ground. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so wished, to Lech Patrick Presbyterian Church, care of Mrs. Julianne Rankin, 38 Hull Stevenson's Park, Strabane, County Tyrone. The death has taken place of Tess Boner ní Cassidy, 223 Duncastle Road, Dunnamana, and formerly of St Johnston. Remains are reposing at her home. Funeral leaving her home this morning at 11:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Killana, Dunmanna at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House private to family and friends only. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the Donaghadee Parish YouTube channel. For more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Congratulations to our Super Value suppliers and Food Academy producers who won 94 awards at this year's Bloston Heron Awards, like our Super Value Signature Taste Cashel Blue Cheese by Cashel Farmhouse Cheesemakers, winning gold, and our Food Academy producer Clonakilty Gluten-Free Kitchen also winning gold for their multi-grain loaf. Super Value, Ireland's #1 award-winning supermarket.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning if you're after joining us. We have Matt McGranahan, who'll be in studio with us before 11 o'clock, performing for us live. He, of course, he's written 2 songs, actually, and we'll hear both of them. One of them, which had its live debut here a couple of months ago, the live performance debut, that was written for those that tragically lost their lives in the Creeslough Tragedy, which happened 1 year ago on Saturday, and is still very, very recent, very raw. We'll be discussing that. We'll be talking about how people are getting on, what is the plans for the future. And as I say, we'll have live music from Matt McGranahan as well. So if you want to watch that, feel free to jump on the YouTube channel, as you know yourself, and mention it to you, or on Facebook. We have the best milk and meat in the world, remember. They don't want us to eat meat. They want us to eat fake printed meat grown from external cancer cells or crickets. We are being told what to expect, but sadly no one actually believes it to be true. Don't think the new derogation map includes a part of Fanad, as you stated. Sorry, and I should have actually been more careful there. The map is just up and to the left of that part of the world, but it has ramifications for people, so I should have just been a little bit more cautious in that. Good morning, Greg. A huge amount of Brazilian beef is already being imported into Ireland. It's clearly marked as Irish packaged, not Irish beef, and everyone has pretty much turned a blind eye to the huge damage done environmentally to the Amazon and the world. Is it Amazonian, or is it... there's a lot of Polish beef, I think, as well around. All these changes happen gradually for most people, not the farmer, and people won't care until it affects them. But by then, the younger people will be so brainwashed by how bad farming meat is for the environment that they will just go with the flow. Fake meat all the way. EU telling our farmers what to do. Ireland has been a net contributor to the EU since 2013. In layman's terms, they give the EU more than they get back since 2013. Last year, Ireland contributed €3.6 billion, and by 2027, the Department of Finance says it will increase it to €4.5 billion. Right, okay, let us take a break. We're going to take the bingo numbers, and we'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after that. Please stay with us.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 5th of October, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €21,200 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S19, it's game number 40. The jackpot number is 81. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 18. 7, 88, 77, 60, 54, 87, 9, 33, and finally 61. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
More and more people are moving to rural Ireland, but we're not here in Donegal for a slower pace of life.
We're here because rural Ireland is alive.
Brimming with ideas and energy.
The only thing holding us back is slow broadband. It's cat. Pure glacial.
So why wait? Imagine broadband speed gives us the freedom to connect without compromises.
Imagine Broadband is connecting homes and businesses in your community right now. For better service and faster broadband faster, switch to imagine.ie. Imagine. Faster broadband faster.
Subject to location and availability.
County Donegal Blackfish Sheep Breeders Association's 66th annual show and sale of shearling rams and ram lambs will take place at Ballybuffet and Stranorlar Mart. Show this Friday the 6th at 2 p.m. with the sale this Saturday the 7th at 12 noon.
Ho ho, hold on to your handlebars, Letterkenny. LK Bikes Christmas Club is now open. Santa's one-stop shop for kids' bikes and e-scooters. Secure your gifts with a small deposit and enjoy easy online payments later. Make this Christmas unforgettable with LK Bikes. Visit us today in store or online at lkbikes.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. And we're joined in studio now by Majella McFadden, Community Links Officer for Creeslough. Thank you very much for calling in to us. We do appreciate your time, Majella.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
And it's Saturday is the 1 year anniversary of the Creeslough Tragedy, and I can't even imagine what it must feel like for those directly affected by this, but it feels like it's yesterday and ages ago all at the same time.
That's right. It's been a difficult 12 months, but this week particularly is it's difficult. We're all reliving what's happened this time last year, and I imagine from talking to people that they're looking back at this time last year and thinking how good life was and how normal life was, and to change so suddenly.
And everybody's different, how they grieve, how they want to grieve, how they want to move on, when they want to move on. You know, we're talking many, many different people all dealing with life in their own way and at different paces. That's right. If you've experienced loss, which most of us have, the grief will hit you at different stages and at unexpected times. And that first year, you know, you're still reeling from what's happened. And I really believe that it'll be from now on, Greg, that we will need the services here in Creeslough over the coming years to help people to deal with this. As I say, everybody's at a different stage at the moment. Yeah, and you even see differences within families. We're all so unique as human beings, and that's what we have to be conscious of. What is happening on Saturday? There's a commemoration for those who lost their lives in the tragedy and their families, of course, in Creeslough. So that'll take place on 3 p.m. on Saturday, and then there's a mass then in the evening. Yes, so we will have a service at 3. The road will be closed from 2 until 4 that day, and the service will be for the families, for the community, for the first responders, those that were there on the day. And indeed, those first responders are just many of the locals that helped out that day, and people that happened to be there or passing through Creeslough on the day. So they are all invited to attend on Saturday. And but I suppose what I'd like to emphasise is that it's very much about the families. Yep. It's very much about the families on Saturday and respecting their privacy as they just try and come to terms with the first year anniversary of a terrible loss. Yeah, and I think we all have to be conscious, and in the media, and I don't think it's necessarily something that we have to be concerned with locally, but certainly nationally, that, you know, the people directly affected by this, it's very, very recent. They will hear and see what's being said. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes when something's far removed, the media seems to move past it very quickly, but I think everyone has to be conscious that this is still current. This is still now. The tragedy is still now. Do you know what I mean? That's right. Yeah. It's not historic, Majella. No, it's not. And you're right when you say that people, I suppose, outside of the community, and they do tend to move on. You know, it's news for a while, and then, but I think, this week is bringing it all back, and I suppose with
the influx of media and that towards into the community again, it is definitely it's a harrowing experience for everybody. And in saying that, though, the media and their coverage so far has been very respectful.
No, I get you.
Very respectful and very professional.
I think there comes a point then, though, too, that you have to leave people to try and move forward. And you talked about those affected by it being invited to the commemoration at 3 p.m. on Saturday, and also the 7:30 p.m. vigil mass. And it's a lot of people, because it's those that were that have been directly bereaved by it, but it's the wider community, and that community spreads far, far and wide. We had first responders that didn't know if someone that they knew was perished or was caught up in it. It was just such a local charity, but a local tragedy, but the ripples just went far and wide because of the size of our community.
Well, that's right, Greg. It's not only Creeslough that's been affected, you know, and it's something that we don't forget about, that there are communities close to us now that are going to be forever entwined with Creeslough. They have lost their loved ones too, by chance that were there in Creeslough on that day. And we just need to, I suppose, rally around them, but give them that space as well to grieve and to remember their loved ones. It's 10 souls, and the ripple effect of that is far and wide.
Yeah, James O'Flaherty, Jessica Gallagher, Martin McGill, Catherine O'Donnell and her son James Monaghan, Hugh Kelly, Martina Martin, Robert Garvey and his daughter Shona Flanagan Garvey, and Leona Harper. 10 people very, very greatly missed. And then, of course, those that have been injured physically and those that have been scarred emotionally as well. They have a process to go through, and it must be very, very difficult. And I've spoken to people who have post-traumatic stress, difficult sleeping, things that trigger emotions, because it's, as I say, a year is nothing. It's a blink of an eye, and it's still very, very recent. In a way, we know what we have to do to support people, but again, then there's some elements of any tragedy that's unprecedented. In terms of the support the families have received, there's been a lot of it.
There has been a lot of support over the past 12 months. In fact, we couldn't but acknowledge the support that Creeslough has received over the past 12 months. It's been overwhelming. It's been humbling, actually. The supports are there, but I suppose in my role now, it is to continue those supports and to ensure that, as we know ourselves, it'll be after the first year anniversary when the reality will really sink in, and when, as I know, that the injured are already living through a pain and a nightmare. The families that have lost their loved ones are living through this, and this will be years of ongoing supports that we will do our best to provide to the community.
Yeah, indeed. And as you say, it's ongoing. In terms just of Saturday, and I'm sorry to skip back to this, but just to be clear for people who are texting in, the N56 road through Creeslough will be closed on Saturday from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Diversions will be in place, and they're pretty well established now at this point. And in terms of stewards, respect what the stewards are saying in terms of parking and all that type of stuff. That's what you're asking, calling on people if they are attending to do so.
That's right. So it will be, the road will be closed as it was last year, and we will have marshals in place. And Father John Joe, he has taken the lead. He has to be mentioned here. Father John Joe he's been such a massive support to the community, and it's quite an undertaking. We've never experienced anything like this, and so he has to be thanked for the support that he has given to just not only Creeslough but the wider community, and personally to myself. Since taking on this role, it's quite a new role, and it will have its challenges. And he's been an incredible support.
Yeah, because he has to be there to offer people religious support, emotional support, has to operate sometimes as a firewall, particularly in the early days between the community and the outside world to some extent. And just because you have a faith, which is incredibly important, it doesn't make you bulletproof either or invincible. No. It takes great inner strength, and I'm sure Father John Joe derives much of that from his amazing faith. But as you say, everyone directly involved with this, it's not a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination. It's incredibly difficult.
It's very difficult. It is. And it really, Greg, it's day by day. And this week is, I just know from the feedback that I've been receiving, you know, the families, as I mentioned, had requested privacy around this time. But even just to listen to the stories of people that were there on that day, it's definitely bringing back memories for them. And you could sometimes tend to forget until you're speaking to these people just how traumatic it is for them. So we really just want to be there to show our respects, but to let the families to let the families grieve. And over the last year, and it happens organically in the community, and I mean, obviously I'm not from the community, but you know, was aware of certain things that were going on and how things were progressing, and it was like some really early on understanding that there was some very special moments for children, for an example. Do you know what I mean? Be it through sport or to see tractors or whatever it might be. And that was all accommodated so as that obviously they can't be completely insulated. But I thought people were really brave in recognising that in a terrible time of sadness and darkness that you have to let in the shots of light and have those experiences for the community, and that started really quite early on and has continued, isn't it? And it's a balance that has to be struck. But I think the people of Creeslough and surrounding areas and all those affected by it have done really well in that regard, if I've phrased that correctly, Majella. Yeah, you have. I mean, Creeslough, before this tragedy, Creeslough was a village that, like many rural villages, suffered a lot after the recession. And the Creeslough Community Association was formed, and it really was a community that they wanted to see that community thrive. And you can see it now more than ever after the tragedy, that we realise that we'll never forget. Life will never be the same in Creeslough. And
you don't want to be defined by it.
But we won't be defined by it. But as I say, we won't forget.
Yeah.
But we're on a journey, Greg. Yeah. It's a journey. You couldn't say that we're moving forward. It's a journey of healing. It's a journey of regeneration, and it's really just about. Honestly, it's just about togetherness and creating that community. We have a great, and it might sound like a cliche, but we've always had a brilliant community spirit in Creeslough, and Creeslough has suffered a lot of tragedies over the years, and particularly with young people. And so I believe that we've been a great example, I think, myself, to what community resilience is all about and community spirit. And it would be my goal to continue that.
And you have to create an environment, as I said earlier on, where everyone moves within their own pace comfortably within that. A community hub is being established in Creeslough. What stage is that at? I think it's been greenlit at this stage. And what will its function and purpose be?
So the community hub, we, as I had mentioned earlier, we've received so much support from around the nation. And within that support, there was funding from the Department of Rural and Community Development to develop this, what we'd call a resource centre. So out of that, we received funding, and the funding would cover, I suppose, pastoral care, to continue with our small key community development and future infrastructural projects that would be in the pipeline for Creeslough. And one of those projects now, or this funding, I suppose, was granted to develop a community hub. So we've secured a premises on the main street in Creeslough. It was a derelict building, and it has since been developed, not quite finished yet, but should be hopefully ready by the weekend, just to offer a drop-in service really after the service. And what we'd hope to achieve from that, Greg, would be to link people to the services that are available. Not everybody is aware of the pathways or who you need to get in touch with. So we will provide drop-in services, which has already been provided in Creeslough, but we will keep that going. So counselling services, social work services, psychology services, and we'll also have citizens advice, MABs. We'll hope to have some health and wellbeing programmes, educational programmes, and once again, I can't stress enough, it's really just about keeping the community together.
Yeah.
And this resource centre, I think, will be vital to do that in the years ahead.
This is a matter really for the people of Creeslough and those outside Creeslough affected by this. But in terms of the site of the tragedy, has a decision been made on its future, or is that an ongoing piece of work? And obviously that's going to be a very sensitive area, one which I'm not getting into, but just some people asking themselves as to, do we know what is or isn't happening there?
Right now, no, there would be no information at all in that, Greg. No.
Okay, that's no problem. It was just in response to a few people messaging in. I take it that the people affected by this got the sense of the impact that it had on many people, did they? And feel the support from around the county, around the country and far beyond?
Yes, the support, I mean, the nation, the support's been from around the world, even just when it comes to messages of support and the thoughts and the prayers that are with everybody. It's just overwhelming. There's no other words for that. It certainly would keep a community going, and it's comforting. It's comforting for us, and it will continue. Just if you look back at the recent 25th anniversary of the Omagh bombing, and we looked at that, and I listened to people being interviewed, and I realised that 25 years on, to many of those people, it's still like yesterday. We have to remember we have a long road ahead, and that we need to continue the supports, and we're thankful for the support that we have received.
Yeah, and definitely you can see that, and everything that you would hope to be done is being done, and to address the consequences of the tragedy, but also to use the opportunity through the hub to generally lift the area and support people, which I think is fantastic. I mean, as I say, it's only a year, and it's for different people, they're at different stage of their grieving process. But I think to a person, Saturday is going to be very, very tough, and we hope everyone finds the strength they need to get through it and gets from it what they will. It's not just those directly bereaved or injured, but it's lots and lots of people. I think everyone has a memory and have been affected by that tragedy, and we'll remember them all on Saturday at Magella.
Yeah,
and
correct.
not just one day, obviously, but
that's right. But Saturday will be more poignant. It's bringing it all back for people. Not that we'll ever forget, but as I say, it's affected not only the community of Creeslough, but far and wide.
Okay, Magella, you've a very important job, and it's clear they've got the right person for it. Magella, we really appreciate you calling down to us today. Magella McFadden, Community Links Officer for Creeslough. Thank you very much indeed.
Greg. Thank you.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Cattle trade on fire. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out why forward cattle prices are up €100 per head. Where does your farm sit on the new Nitrates map? Are you eligible for the new tillage payment of €28 per hectare? Bale shears, diet feeders and a tiny tub. We look at the best winter feeding gear for your farm. And find out how you can cut your tax bill.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
For a real taste of Donegal, try some new season potatoes from John Edwards & Sons Ramelton. Donegal's finest potatoes, grown and packed in Ramelton by John Edwards & Sons. To celebrate National Potato Day, watch out for packs at special prices in shops throughout Donegal this week.
Don't miss the Clanry Hotel Wedding Showcase on Sunday, October 8th. Meet their dedicated and experienced wedding team who can turn your dream wedding day into reality. Explore the beautifully set up Shelbridge Suite and their luxurious bridal suite. Packages can be tailored to suit your needs. No appointment necessary. That's the Clanry Wedding Showcase, Sunday 8th of October from 2 to 5 p.m.
For the biggest names in perfumes and aftershaves, visit McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Dior, Armani and Hugo Boss. Victor and Rolf, Marc Jacobs and Lancôme. Also Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, Prada and many more. From timeless classics to celebrity favourites, there's a perfume or aftershave for everyone at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie.
Well, Grace, how are you today? I'm good. I've just been down to the Made to Measure Fireplaces showroom in Creeslough. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creeslough on 074 91 38 365 on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. We welcome onto it now Dr. John McCardle, Area Director of Mental Health Nursing. John, thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. John, sorry, if you could just unmute yourself there, if you don't mind. I just can't quite hear you. John, good morning. I can hear you loud and clear now. Continuing with this topic, what services are available for the community? Because, of course, some will access them immediately and others may yet do so, have done so. You know, everyone, as I said to our previous guest, everyone is different in that regard, John.
Yeah, certainly, Greg. Just to say that the HSE is very conscious that, you know, everybody's journey to recovery is going to be different and individual and moving at an individual rate. But the HSE also are mindful of anniversaries and other events that will come up that will trigger that recovery, and for some people it may be forwards, it may be backwards, or it may stimulate them to want to come into services when previously they weren't in a position to do so or didn't feel they could. And that will happen, as Magella said, over the next few years for people at a different rate. So the HSE is here and available for anyone who is at that point in their journey at this time. We have a range of services. The mental health services in Donegal is continuing to be available, and people can be referred in there via their GP. We work in partnership with primary care. So we will, if the GP flags that up, prioritise those cases. We also have the National Counselling Service who are available in Ballyrane, and they are continuing to see people on a regular basis, and they would be particularly concerned to highlight, particularly to the families of the bereaved, that they have in Letterkenny a dedicated traumatic bereavement counselling option. So they would particularly want to reach out on this opportunity to those families on the anniversary to make contact with them. Their number is 07491 67250, and that's in Ballyrane at their head offices. So that service is available. Other services that are linked to the HSE, such as Jigsaw, are also available, and some young people may want to walk in there and initiate a discussion with them, and that may lead to direct intervention, or it may lead to signposting to other services, Greg. Primary care counselling, psychology and social work are also continuing to see people, and the social work service is offering a drop-in. They've advertised a number of drop-ins dates for throughout October, the 2nd, the 9th, the 16th and the 23rd from 10:30 to 4:30 in the evening. And that's offices at the back of Brennan's Pharmacy. But if people want an individual appointment outside of those times, they can be contacted on 07491 04721.
Yes, and
So,
we are, Dr. McCardle, it's very important, isn't it, that people do seek counselling, because, you know, we talk about mental health quite a lot on this programme, and sometimes what we find we do as individuals, and I can almost speak as an individual on this, we sort of, we accept a normal, you know, which might mean that we're not sleeping very well, or, you know, there are things that would trigger us or upset us, or our moods or emotions are changed, and we just sort of say, well, that's just the way we are. And it may well be, but it also may be that you could still benefit it from a chat to someone and to talk things through. You don't have to maintain where your status quo is one where you're not fully where perhaps you could be.
Absolutely not. That's entirely correct. And there is a message that people may also want to come forward on more than one occasion. So it is important, just if you have any doubts at all, that you would come forward and have a chat with somebody. And it may be that you'll not be entirely resolving your issues at the current point in time, because there are factors that are sitting out there that haven't been resolved yet, and people will have to wait for those. So we would encourage people to come now, safe in the knowledge that they don't have to wait to know everything following the awful incident, that they can do a piece of work with their psychological health now, and that can be built upon over the next few years by coming back once, twice, 3 times, or however often is necessary for the individual, you know.
Yeah, because we're talking about services that are there. We're not calling for them. They are there and available to be accessed. And John, just finally remind us again how people can access these services, those who aren't yet aware.
The primary point of access is via their GP, because of the need to sort of keep a connection with primary care. But there are direct queries can be directed to the National Counselling Service or the Social Work Service, depending upon what the individual's actual needs are. Do you want me to repeat those numbers, Greg?
I think it's worthwhile, John. Yes, please.
So the National Counselling Service in Letterkenny is 07491 67250, and the Social Work Service is 07491 04721.
John, thank you so much for your time and the work of you and your colleagues. We really do appreciate it this morning. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Okay, John McCardle there, who is Area Director of Mental Health Nursing. Okay, we are going to have some music for you, which is from Matt McGranahan and Denise Roper. That's coming up after we take a short break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Hello, Jedward speaking. Sorry, Edward speaking.
Hey, bro, I'm glad you picked up.
Who is this?
It's me, John. I'm literally outside in the landing.
I don't know any Sean. Lose my number. Hello?
Edward, don't hang up. I'm sorry for saying a handyman could fix the gas boiler. Please forgive.
Always use a registered gas installer, or you could risk everything. Find one at rgi.ie.
So you're saying mental health difficulties can be smaller things?
Yeah.
Like trouble sleeping?
Yeah.
Or if I'm always stressed, like?
Yeah.
Or often anxious?
They're all part of your mental health.
Thought those were separate.
Nope. They're all connected.
Hey, how do you know all this anyway?
Sure, I've been there myself.
Anxiety, ongoing stress, low mood or trouble sleeping, they're all part of your mental health. Make the connection and find support that can help at yourmentalhealth.ie from the HSE.
The Olive Grove Pizzeria is now open at the new Smokes and Grills in Letterkenny, serving freshly made, mouth-watering pizzas every Wednesday to Sunday from 1. Due to demand, the opening offer of a 12-inch pepperoni pizza for just $7.50 is extended until the end of October. Available to sit in or take away. The Olive Grove Pizzeria at Smokes and Grills in Riverside Retail Park, Letterkenny. Call 91 13333 or see Smokes and Grills on Facebook.
The Hyundai Big Weekend of Offers is happening October 7th and 8th at dealerships nationwide. Test drive the 2024 Hyundai range, including the all-new Kona, Ireland's best-selling car, the Tucson, and winners of World Car of the Year, the Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6. Avail of the big selection of offers when you book your 241 model. The Hyundai Big Weekend of Offers, October 7th and 8th.
Your local Hyundai dealer is Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny. Open this Saturday 7th from 10 to 4 and Sunday from 12 to 4.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport, where you can now fly daily to London Heathrow with Aer Lingus and connect via Heathrow to over 80 destinations worldwide, including Boston, New York and more.
Okay, let's have a look at that weather forecast for you then. And I can tell you that today, Thursday, a dull, cloudy and rather wet start with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, which will be heavy and persistent for a time, though that rain should be starting to break up now for the afternoon. It'll stay mostly cloudy, though, quite blustery, temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. Okay, our next guest in studio, Matt McGranahan and Denise Roper. Both of you, thank you so much for calling up. Matt McGranahan, we really do appreciate you calling back into us. Talk to us about the piece of music that you wrote following this awful tragedy. I think for those who aren't familiar with its background, Matt, it's important that they hear.
Yeah, so the piece I wrote earlier this year, whenever the people of Creeslough were being awarded Donegal Person of the Year. So I wrote this piece, and really it's took inspiration, I suppose, from wanting to have Creeslough at the very centre of it. So I linked the notes that we use for music, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, to the letters of the alphabet. So A was A and B, H became A, and so on. And used that to spelled out Creeslough, and that actually gave me the first 10 notes of the piece of music. And on that, that's the entire piece of music then is built on that. It's like the theme that the piece stems from. But also in the centre of the piece, wanted to remember the 10 people, most importantly. So I did a very similar thing with their names and linked them. And so in the middle of the piece, 10 individual notes ring out without any harmony, without piano. And that's to remember each particular person. And the identity of each of those notes is only known to the family members of that person. And it hasn't been revealed to the public. And I don't think it should be. It's just it's a note for them and for their loved one.
Yeah, and it leaves it very individual then for each person at whatever stage they see fit for this to be part of their lives. Mm-hmm. Probably everyone now at this stage, but you know what I mean? It was important, was it, to have that? I mean, it's a public piece that you perform public, but it also felt personal to those directly affected by this tragedy.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what is important about it for each of the people involved. The piece is for the entire community, and it is a public piece, but at the very centre of it is a very private little moment and a very private section of music just for the families and for them individually. And, you know, it's up to them if they want to reveal to their friends or to anyone else the identity of those notes. Okay, written in the memories of Leona Harper, 14, Robert Garvey, 50, and his daughter Shauna Flanagan Garvey, just 5, Martina Martin, 49, Hugh Kelly, 59, 39-year-old Catherine O'Donnell and her lovely wee son James Monaghan, Martin McGill, Jessica Gallagher, just 24 years of age, James O'Flaherty, all who very tragically and sadly lost their lives, and we miss them all. Very much so, their families and friends particularly. And as I say, it's tough all the time, but Saturday particularly poignant, of course. And with this piece of music now, here's Matt McGranahan and on keyboard Denise Roper.
That's Matt McGranahan there, and Denise Roper. Denise, thank you so very much indeed, and it's an exceptional piece of music, Matt. And I'm not just simply saying that; it truly is. Thank you. Thanks so much for that. You also have written the musics and the lyrics for a song in memory and inspired by Leona Harper. Singing on it, Sophie Gallagher and Chris McLaughlin. Talk to me about this piece of music, Matt, and we're going to hear it before we get to the news.
Yeah, so last year, just a couple of weeks after Creeslough happened, a cousin of mine, Anne Nichols from Letterkenny here, asked me to write a piece in memory of her son's friend that was killed in Creeslough, which I later found out to be Leona. And I promised that I would do something, expecting maybe just to write a piece of music. I don't claim to be a songwriter or a lyricist, you know. And because of writing Old Dev and performing it in Dublin, I had the honour of meeting Hugh and Donna that night. And actually that day that you invited me on back in April here, I visited them afterwards. And I learned so much about Leona, the character that she was, the person that she was, the amazing, beautiful young person that she was. A real inspiration. And I told them that I'd been asked to write something in her memory, so I started working on it maybe a week after, and I just had a basic sort of a structure, just something that I recorded on the piano working from it. And then towards the end of August, I was playing at a wedding one night in Letterkenny, met Anne, was at it, and I said, I know I need to finish that piece. So on the way home, I listened to what I had recorded on the headphones when I was driving, and by the time I got to Balbuffet, I had the melody in my head, and I had been thinking of different names for a long time, but this name popped into my head, Stolen Dreams, and I just thought there was something strong about it. So I thought with a title like that, I need to sit and write lyrics. So I went home and set up the computer and the piano, and at about 6 o'clock I had it finished and went to bed at 7 that morning. And there are a couple of lines in it that I didn't write, and God knows I wish I did. But when I visited Hugh and Donna, you know, they told me great stories about Leona, how much music meant to her actually in her life and for them as well. And she was into art and she was into all kinds of things, but they had this beautiful painting on the wall that Leona had bought the year before she died, Christmas before she died. Her and her mother were shopping online, and Leona says, isn't that a beautiful painting? And before Donna could even say, I don't like the painting, Leona had it clicked and bought. And when it arrived home, they got it framed, and it's a beautiful painting of two horses. But in the top right-hand corner and the bottom left-hand corner of the painting, only some time later that they noticed that there were words written. And the words are, though my soul may set in darkness, it will rise in perfect light. For I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. And they told me about this back in April, and it was in the back of my head, I guess. And it was only that night when I was looking for words, I thought on that, and they fitted the song that I had. They fitted what I had written. And those words come from, I think it's just important to say, those words come from a poem written by an English poet called Sarah Williams back in the 1850s. She died very young herself. It's just important to keep her memory alive because there are not too many female poets that we hear about. So that's the song, Greg, and I give it to Hugh and Donna for them and whatever their decision to do with the song. And I think they have been very courageous and given us the gift of wanting to share the song. So I think we're very lucky with that.
And the three charities that are going to benefit from it are Critical Emergency Medical Response, SARDA Ireland North, and Canine Search and Rescue Northern Ireland. And you know, we did a show last year on the Saturday afterwards, and everyone was still completely raw about it. And it's often come to my mind that at that stage they were still waiting. Yeah. They were still waiting for Leona to be returned to them.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, really. I'll tell you, for technical reasons, I have to take a break because I don't want to interrupt it. And we're going to come back after 11 o'clock and play it in its entirety. And if you want to watch the video that accompanies with it, hop on to our, because it's important as well, hop on to our social media, YouTube. And if you want to donate, listen to it, donate. How's that? What's that mechanism?
So it's all through the video. We decided that we would make the song free.
Yep.
So anybody can listen to it, but please consider donating. And the video's had about 9,000 views so far. So I mean, even if you can donate €1 or €2.
Look at that. Yeah.
And so the charities Critical have set up the I Donate page, and all the money is going directly to them. There's no middleman or anything like
we'll
that.
link it on our socials. It's going to be on yours. Search Stolen Dreams on idonate.ie and you'll get it. So we're going to take the break and come back after 11 o'clock with a full play of Stolen Dreams. And we want to thank you, Matt McGranahan. Very moving and not insignificant in that piece of music is the brilliant work of Denise Roper. Thank you so very much indeed. Okay, back with more shortly, and stay tuned after 11. We'll hear that piece from Matt, sang by Sophie and Chris. That's, as I say, coming up after the news.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
New this week at Home Store and More. All living room throws are half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price living room throws are gone, they're gone. Also, all Halloween is still all half price.
But when all the half price Halloween ghosts and ghouls and super scary devilish decorations are gone, they're definitely gone.
Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Fancy a game of bingo? Play at Strand Bingo, Strand Road, open 7 days a week. Free bus every Tuesday from Letterkenny, stopping at Manor Cunningham, Newton Cunningham and Killay. Contact Marley Coaches for more information. Play Tuesdays from just £5 for 6 chances to win £300, with free food available. Check out boyledbingoclub.com or download our app for more info.
On the farm, there's always something different to do, and a quad bike can be your best friend. But if you're not properly protected and trained, it can be your worst enemy. Too many quad bike incidents on farms have ended in tragedy. From the 20th of November 2023, it will be compulsory for quad bike users to wear helmets and undergo appropriate training. Find out more at hsa.ie/farm safety, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Wheezing or sneezing? When you're feeling under the weather, your local Brennan's Pharmacy can help. Rest, fluids and simple pain relief are the most effective remedies for a common cold. But if you find that you're coughing so hard that your chest hurts, or if it's disrupting your sleep, just ask our pharmacist to recommend the best solution for a speedy recovery. For all your pharmacy needs and advice you can trust, we're here for you at Brennan's Pharmacy, Buncrana, Clonmany and Creeslough.
Join the team at Homeland Letterkenny this Thursday, 5th of October at 7 p.m. for a beef welfare evening with special guest speakers including Maura Langan from Norbrook and Tommy Doherty from Chagask. Chat with our experienced Homeland and Nutrius teams with refreshments, goodie bags and exclusive offers on the evening. See homeland.ie for more. Looking forward to seeing you there.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it's just a minute past 11. Let's get a news update now, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. An Irish nurse is fighting for her life after being shot in Australia. The woman, who is aged in her 30s and from County Mayo, was shot in the abdomen at a house in Darwin on Tuesday. A 35-year-old man, who it's understood was known to the woman, was found dead at the scene from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Kelly Beggs is to benefit from a total €50 million investment to future-proof the region's fishing processing sector, as well as maintaining and increasing jobs. There are hopes the investment will divert fishing vessels and catch to Donegal and away from other countries. There is hope that the trial for the rape and murder of a Bunkrana woman in India may see completion in July next year. Vikat Bhagat was charged with the murder of Daniel McLaughlin in Goa, India in 2017. He's been in custody since. There has been numerous delays in the trial, but it seems a coroner has been turned following the failed bail application. The first group of parents who undertook the My Child, My Vision programme celebrated a graduation event this week. The project aims to give parents the tools to support their children's transition from primary to secondary level. Errigal College in Letterkenny, Deal College in Rafo, Finn Valley College in Stranorlar, School Vrija Primary School in Convoy and School Warra Primary School in Stranorlar were participating schools in the project. It's the fifth pilot nationally and a first for Donegal. And finally, Donegal communities are being encouraged to take a lead from a rural village in west of Ireland which stamped out pesticides in water supply. For years, pesticide exceedance were an issue for Newport's water supply in County Mayo, but a targeted team approach has seen the supply removed from the EPA's list of vulnerable water supplies. Those are the latest headlines and next news updates at 12 o'clock. Keep up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. From myself and the news team, good morning.
Marie, thank you.
Over 60 years ago, the credit union was created with one purpose: to provide the essential funding that's the lifeblood of any thriving community. And to do this not for profit, but for better reasons. For members, for communities, for fairness, for futures, for potential, for inclusion, for change. The credit union. For you, not profit. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
And as promised, now we're going to hear Stolen Dreams, music and lyrics by Matt McGranahan, written in memory of and inspired by Leona Harper. Sophie Gallagher and Chris McLaughlin are the singers.
When we first saw you and held you in our arms, our hearts were filled with pride, joy and love. From that very moment, our minds were overcome with dreams and aspirations of what you would become. But someone else had different plans to take our dreams away. Love each moment and love each day. Dream your dreams and carry them away. If you lose them, life ain't what it seems. 'Cause you can't get back stolen dreams.
When I first saw you and you held me in your arms, I had dreams to make you proud of who I am. But dreams can change in the twinkling of an eye. My dream for you is to know that I am with you now. Though my soul may have sat in darkness, it will rise the perfect light. I have loved the stars too fondly to be feared
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Come Saturday, once the drop-offs and pickups, the tidying up and the cleaning out are done, there's something tasty to be had at Kelly's Diner. Maybe one of the renowned burgers, or some homemade goujons, a pancake stack, or something lighter from the selection of salads. With loads of parking, take some time out this Saturday at Kelly's award-winning diner, Mountain Top, Letterkenny.
The Donegal Silage Competition with Homeland and Nutrate Animal Feeds is back for 2023 and entries are now open. Entry is free and includes 5 categories: dairy, beef, sheep, round bale and new entrant. First prize is a €300 voucher and second prize a €200 voucher in each category. For full entry details, visit homeland.ie.
At Centra, we're feeling good about cozy season. We've got all you need to stock up, snuggle up and embrace a great night in. Choose 1 Coke, Fanta or Sprite 4-pack, 1 Pringles and 1 HB Iceberger 4-pack, all 3 for €7. Whether it's a big game, movie or box set, make it a great night in with Centra. Shop smart, feel good. Centra. Live every day.
Search imotors.ie to visit our digital showroom with the largest selection of used cars available in the Northwest. We are sure to have your next car. All our vehicles are pre-inspected by our trained technicians and all our cars come with up to 12 months warranty. Visit us in Letterkenny or Malin or imotors.ie.
New season of fabrics have arrived in store at Fabric World Maydown. On trend and in stock, we have all the fabrics you need. Thousands of curtains, upholstery and craft fabrics at incredible stock prices. Call in for your free curtain design and quotation at Fabric World Derry. Great Euro rates for all our Euro customers.
For 1 week and 1 week only, you can get 15% off at McElhenney's department store across women's and men's fashion, kids and shoes. Discount is available online at mcelhenneys.com using code AUTUMN15 or in store at McElhenney's Ballybuffet. Don't want to miss out? Then we will see you at the checkout.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time's 12 minutes past 11. You're welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Loads to come between now and noon, so please stay with us. And we're joined now on the programme by Keely Taverner, psychotherapist, author and coach. Good morning to you, Keely. How are you keeping?
I'm doing well, Greg. How are you?
It's good. I'm doing good, and it's good to hear you are too. And we've been inviting people to send in their questions about relationships, relationship with others, be them intimate relationships, family relationships, whatever it might be. And Keely, we appreciate your time in answering them. So we'll hop straight in, if that's all right. To call I met a girl, we're just friends. I always knew I preferred... the same sex. The issue is because I had a year-long relationship with a man, she thinks I'm bisexual, but I was really just finding myself. How do I approach the conversation? In a drunken conversation one night, she said, I'm not going to be your experiment. Now I'm afraid to mention it again.
Well, I think, we have to be mindful that when we're truthful with people, they can also be truthful back to us. And whilst she's been open about, having... explored her sexuality, the reality is for some people, they may not be comfortable with that and may feel that that person's trying to find themselves. And so it results in them shutting down. They are entitled to feel that way. And I guess it's for that individual to work out whether that's a relationship that's sustainable.
Yeah, indeed, and a very frank conversation. Sometimes we talk around things, don't we, when we actually really have to get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about the subject in hand.
Absolutely. The partner that she's currently seeing may not be comfortable with the fact that they've explored their sexuality. And that's okay. People are entitled to feel uncomfortable about whether their partner's been in the same sex relationship. They are entitled to feel that way. And they can also elect to pursue or not.
Yeah.
And it's for the individual to work out whether that works for them too.
A family member with a child, 4 years after breaking up with the father, they are back together now. The caller says it's clear to everyone around her that he's only there because he has got nowhere else to go, but her daughter is building a relationship with him. How do we advise her? Well, firstly, I presume it's positive if he's building a relationship with his daughter. I don't understand how that comes across as if it's a negative element of it. Maybe they're afraid that he'll walk out on them again.
Well, I guess it feels like the people around her are suspect that there's another agenda, which may not be genuine, and that there is a building of a relationship with the daughter, and they probably feel concerned that once that if that person has their needs met, they may well then abandon the child, the parent, which will cause heartache. The challenge is, if you tell somebody that, they don't usually warmly welcome to those insights as they try to build a loving relationship. So the reality is it's about understanding that people have to sometimes go through certain experiences, but also to check in, ask how they're doing, in order to make sure that, isolation doesn't happen, they're not totally alone, and that they're still communicating with people. Personally, when I've been in relationships that haven't been healthy and no family and friends haven't been happy, that often can result in secrecy. And it's having a friend who may not be judgmental. That means that there is someone that they have support with, talking about identifying certain red flags. If insecurities start to come up, it's not easy, because it's almost like we could all grab the popcorn and watch a car crash about to happen. And that, can be very unhelpful to the person who might be being abused or used. It's not comfortable at all. But how can you endeavor to be there for somebody? Endeavoring not to judge, because it's the judgment that means that the friend will recoil and there'll be much more secrecy and lies are not opening up.
Yeah. Do you have to sort of create the space then whereby, you don't want to leave the person in a situation whereby they'd be afraid that if they reached out to you, I told you so, you wouldn't listen to me, I saw the sign, that kind of stuff. And people, especially with matters of the heart, now, unless it's a physically abusive relationship or coercive control or what have you, you don't see all of it. So you really, a best friend or family member would leave themselves with the relationship whereby that person can still come to them and say things aren't working out for us. But that requires people to keep their nose out a little bit and to be a little bit selfish, and we're just not really conditioned to that. We want to get in there.
It's very difficult. You love someone, you don't want them to be her, and there's a real fine line. The I told you so is so humiliating. It's so humiliating, because sometimes people have had their own suspicions and intuitions and gut responses that they've ignored. It's like putting egg on your face. It's not helpful. The key is, how can I be helpful? How can I be alongside my friend? And this is sometimes where the professional relationship comes in. As a therapist, this is what I have to be alongside people who are sometimes making choices that aren't helpful to them, endeavoring to, put my judgment aside in order to be there for someone. So, sometimes it's not easy, but that's the value is trying to be alongside that person and asking them the 5 WH questions. If they've said something to you, what do you think you need to do about that? Why would that be important? How does that make you feel? So that we extract from them rather than superimpose our own opinion, which humiliates and ultimately results in someone recoiling. And if it's abusive, when people start to recoil, that's not a healthy sign.
Yeah. I have 3 or 4 questions on this kind of the same way, and we might group them up if that's all right, Keely. And it's along the lines of people in longer term relationships and it feeling a little bit stale, or, it's gone off the boil a little bit. Everybody's different and everyone looks and wants different things. But is there any advice you can give to people who feel things are going off the boil? There seems to be a lot of love in the messages. It's just I don't know if it's, they don't describe it. I don't know what they're talking of, but you know what I mean. It's a standard enough question.
Absolutely. I think there's an immense value, because there's such a pressure on relationships to complete us, to fulfill us. I think what often can happen is a form of enmeshment, where we have this super high expectation of fulfillment from another. absence makes the heart grow fonder. What are other aspects of your own identity that you might need to explore to give you a fuller sense of fulfillment? That also means that you can come back with, kind of you're working on yourself, you're looking after yourself. And then as ever, I'm always going to say, sometimes we need to start to have the conversations. What might be helpful? Once kids kick in, routine, things can become mundane.
I think people will be afraid of pulling that curtain back, though. I think that's what's it's the answer to everything, isn't it, really, if you think about it, whether it's a relationship or international war, conversation is the only way to get to a resolution. But I think sometimes people will be afraid of opening up that can of worms, potentially. But it's always going to be constructive, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. We are afraid, but the challenge is it starts to show up in our behaviors. Moodiness, the slamming of cupboard doors. The thing is, we avoid it, but it starts to show up in our, also in our withdrawal. So, what can be done? That's to remain curious about. I'm an advocate of, communication cards. I've spoken about those before, especially ones that are geared for relationships, to start to open up a dialogue. What are the things that you want to achieve, even as a couple? What would you like to? Do you need time away? Do you need time away from each other? These are important things to reflect on, because it's absolutely right that things can become stale. But stale in what way? Stale in the bedroom, stale in your everyday communications. They talk about date night. And sometimes that can all feel very forced. I was at a comedy show last night, and it's like, well,
the phrase itself is like fingernails being dragged down a whiteboard to me. I'll be honest with you, because it's anyway. But listen, if it works for some people, we're all different.
Absolutely,
and we're talking about conversing, and sometimes it's no harm to have another person in there, a mediator, dependent on where you're at. And Keely Taverner is a psychotherapist, author, and coach, and also is available remotely as well. Keely, how do people get more information about the work that you do?
You can find me at keyforchange.com, the number 4 or FOR, as we say every month, Greg.
It's lovely having you on the show. Have a lovely Thursday. God bless you. Thank you very much indeed. Keely Taverner there. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. Okay, we are going to say hello to our next guest now, Deputy Patrick McLaughlin. Good morning to you, Deputy. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Greg.
What's the reaction been to the alternative budget? That's not what we're talking about. I had Pierce on yesterday, but, the dust has begun to settle now. How's it been received?
Yeah, I think what's been welcomed, when you talk to business groups, employer groups, when you talk to the unions who are working with teachers, with health workers, the massive issue is housing. We have to deliver housing at the scale that our people require, affordable housing. So that's the big emphasis that Pierce, as our finance spokesperson, and Ona Bryn, as our housing spokesperson, has focused on. If they were both ministers, we would be seeing the biggest house building programme, social, affordable, in the history of the state. And that scale is what's required, Greg, for the foreseeable future.
We invited you on to talk about it's because of where you're from, obviously being from North Donegal, but Donegal as a whole, we have the defective concrete crisis, but also you are your party's spokesperson on fisheries and the marine, and you've made an interesting observation on the regulation of one industry versus the other. It's quite an interesting observation too.
Yeah, Greg, you'll know about this, but a lot of our listeners today in Donegal mightn't be aware. If you have a fish factory, if you look at the fish factories in Killybegs, for example, where the people there through their dedication, their ingenuity, have built up an industry that has provided for a few thousand jobs now for many years. What's happened there is that the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority are the regulator over both fishermen and the seafood sector. And astonishingly, not only do you have the fish being weighed on a flow scale, so they're looking at the fish in real time. Because I went to see this, I've seen this for myself. You also had CCTV cameras on the weighing system that the SFPA monitor 24/7 all the time. No industry in Ireland would have a situation where they have CCTV cameras from outside of their business monitoring them round the clock. So that's the level of surveillance, of policing of the fishery industry. And if you take on any fisherman from anywhere around Ireland, and I speak to them all right around the coast as Sinn Féin's fishery spokesperson, they'll tell you that they are the most policed, regulated fishing sector in all of Europe, way beyond, you see.
Are we overzealous in enforcing EU regulations, or is this an internal matter?
No, we are clearly the best policeman in Europe about enforcing fisheries regulations. No other country touches what we do in Ireland. And of course, our fishermen tell us that about 80% of the wealth from our seas, that's in our waters, from 12 miles to 200 miles, and indeed from 6 to 12 miles, 80% of the wealth in those waters is handed away due to unjust policies dating back to the 1970s that are never changed. So our fishermen are watching our wealth being taken away and are policed way beyond you'd see in any other European country. I compare that, Greg, to what's happening with the quarry and construction industry, and it's absolutely shocking.
Did we not make our own bed, though, with controversy as to how we handle our fish that's landed on these shores, and that's why we have had to become the best policemen in the EU?
Yeah, there's no doubt there were some issues, and nobody in the fishing community denies that back in the day. And there needs to be regulation. Absolutely, there has to be regulation, but the level is insane. I couldn't believe it when I went down to see. I mean, I don't know any industry that would tolerate CCTV on them from outside round the clock. But even that wasn't good enough for the SFPA. Remember the whole madness where they weren't allowing fish to be landed at Killybegs? They had to take them round to the City of Derry port, and then it was just crazy bureaucracy, over policing. So what I wanted to point out was, here we have a situation with quarries, with the construction industry, where utter recklessness has devastated thousands of lives in Donegal. I was at an Oireachtas committee. This is the other side of the story now. So we have one level of regulation, which is really, really mad for fishing communities, for seafood. But when it comes to quarries, I couldn't believe, after everything that we've been through, that there was an audit done of the quarries, Greg, by the National Building Control Office, the Market Surveillance Office. They carried out the audit of a range of quarries in Donegal. And the quarry that is most closely identified with the vast majority of houses that are affected in Donegal, would you believe that they told us in the Oireachtas they couldn't get access to that quarry to carry out tests? Now, CCTV cameras round the clock on fish factories in Killybegs, and they couldn't get access to this quarry to carry out tests, geological and petrographic tests that are required to understand what has gone wrong. Then you had a situation when the first draft of that audit report was submitted. Very mysteriously, criticism of the whole regulation of the industry and criticism of the resources available to this building control office were taken away, were taken out. This has been revealed by the Sunday Business Post. And since that revelation, we learned that the Mairead Phelan, who's head of the National Building Control Office, Market Surveillance Office, is telling us she just doesn't have anywhere near the resources she needs. Now, we're talking about billions of euro of damage in terms of the taxpayer. We're talking about thousands of lives devastated. And we cannot get proper regulation and oversight of the quarry industry in Ireland.
But obviously that's retrospective. But we have to give people, if they ever manage to get through a scheme, confidence in what house might be built into the future, or generally building activity. You know, we've got our defective concrete crisis. We've seen what's happened over in Britain when there isn't proper oversight and regulation. I mean, it beggars belief, and obviously I try and strike balance, but is there anyone out there listening, regardless of your background, political party or whatever, that would not think that we've had a multi-billion euro wake-up call that's had a devastating impact on people's lives, which we'll never be fit to quantify, and yet we aren't jumping through absolutely every hoop and throwing every resource at ensuring, as best as is humanly possible, that this cannot happen again, or at the very least, we're replacing houses that won't be subject to the same problems again into the future. I defy anyone with any background not to state that that's precisely what we should be doing. And the fact that we're not doing it's I was going to say criminal, but it beggars belief. I can't, but I do believe it, but it's hard to believe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just can't get my head around why we're not throwing every resource at this National Building Control Office. And as you say, we've had revelations in Oireachtas committees in the last year where senior engineers stated on the record that there are quarries still producing defective concrete products in this country. And one of them was a senior engineer called Aidan O'Connell. And we said to him, well, you know, if you have this evidence, why are you not bringing it forward to the National Building Control Office? The other thing too, Greg, is the emerging science tells us that pyrrhotite or iron sulfides are actually the cause of what we've seen in Donegal. We call it mica because that was what the scientists told us about 3, 4, 5 years ago. Now it's believed that pyrrhotite, and the problem with pyrrhotite, if you look at international experience like North America, Canada, Europe, is that if this occurs in quarries, they should not be making any concrete blocks whatsoever.
Or any concrete products for that matter. You see, the problem, I think, what the problem is, and it's the only explanation that I can offer, is that to some extent we speak in an echo chamber about this, and that includes at Oireachtas meetings the laughable conversation that was had about a multi-billion euro scheme. It was clear from the questions that were being asked that people sitting on Oireachtas committees that should know hadn't a clue about this, really. The most basic fundamental questions that, you know, in a very highly paid job, you should at least have briefed yourself on that. Then we have how it's covered in the media. Some sections of the media doing fantastic work in keeping this to the fore. But generally speaking, I think if you polled a lot of people in the media and general society, they would believe it's a job done. A scheme has been announced. It's not for everyone. It's multi-billion. There it is. And the people that are paid to make sure this can't happen again must surely know that really, in terms of general awareness of how big a problem this is between the media, the public, and even politicians, it's not there. So we are back to the point, it feels, that we're talking about this amongst ourselves and no one else gets it.
Yeah, I have to say it is very, very frustrating. And what happens at national level is people pay attention and then move on to the next crisis and problem. And of course, there was a pitch made by government. Look at this, the biggest redress scheme in the history of the state, billions of euro. Look, we're giving everybody 420,000 euro, which was a complete lie. And when you speak to people down the country now, we had their attention in 2021 thanks to the fantastic campaigners we have in Donegal. People started to tell their story. It was harrowing, and there was a lot of solidarity from around the country. But now there's this view, well, you're all sorted. You're getting 420,000 euro each. So it's an absolute lie. And then, you know, just as bad is the fact that the very industry that caused this crisis, the quarry and construction industry, you know, is getting light touch regulation still. And, you know, in fairness now, I have to say the National Building Control Office, Mairead Phelan, the people who are heading that up are fighting for more resources, are looking to do their job, but they need those resources from government. So the question I asked, Greg, was how in the name of God can you have massive resources every year behind the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority, 24-hour CCTV surveillance of fish factories, and you can't even get access to a quarry that was responsible for the destruction of thousands of families' lives in Donegal to test to see if that quarry, you know, has deleterious materials, for God's sake, you know. So right. I want to call it out. I'm going to stay calling it out because the hypocrisy and the double standards is astonishing.
All right, listen, thank you very much for your time. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, who is Sinn Féin's spokesperson on fisheries and the marine. It is 11:34. We'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after we take this break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Christmas shopping just got easier with Irwin Expert Electrical's layaway service now open. Secure those must-have gifts from Ninja, Apple, Samsung, LG, Dyson or Sage with just a deposit. Simply choose items you love and pay for them in convenient installments that suit your budget. No stress, no rush. Gift smarter with Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Charlie McLafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McLafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
Toast your Christmas party this year at Century Complex with delicious food, a superb atmosphere and excellent service. We have something to suit everyone. Make your night extra special by adding a premium cinema experience. To book, call 074 9121976 or visit centurycinemas.ie for more information on Century Complex this Christmas.
It's the great autumn of savings at Super Value, with over 1,000 price cuts on all the big brands you love. Like Philadelphia 165 gram was $2.85, now $2.65. Whiteleaf toilet tissue was $3.79, now $2.99. And money off vouchers every week on the app too. So pop in for great savings in store or online this autumn at Super Value.
The Donegal Senior Football Championship has reached the semi-final stage, with both games live on Highland this weekend. Join us for full match commentary of Gweedore against McCool's on Saturday from 4. And then on Sunday at 3:30, it's the Dr. Maguire Cup holders, Naomh Connell against St. Junans. Live coverage of Donegal and this year's Senior Football Championship is brought to you by Highland Motors in Letterkenny, with the 100% electric Renault Megane E-Tech. 220 brake horsepower and up to 450 kilometre driving range. Now available for test drive and immediate delivery.
Big country special dance. John McNichol, John Hogan and myself, Declan Ernie and my band. October 7th, any show in Gateway Hotel Buncrana. Admission €20, doors 8:30.
Stay warm for less this autumn with Homeland. 5-pack wood logs, buy 3 for €13. Hardwood log crate for 150 kg, only €329. Nationwide delivery available. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
Okay, welcome back to the programme. Joined on it now by Councillor Micheál Colm McGillen-Aspa. Good morning to you. Thank you very much, Micheál Colm. How are you getting on? 1 second, sorry. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but something else is playing here in the background that I have to stop. All right, 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. Give us a call on that, or... give us a WhatsApp on that, or call us on 07491 25,000. Let me see if I've addressed that technical issue. Can you hear me, Micheál Colm? Hello? No, I'm going to have to kick you out and then bring you back in again. Stay where you are. Right, okay, you're gone. I'll bring you back in, though. It's not your fault. By the way, just whilst we do that, we've had a couple of calls along the lines of where is the Garda investigation as to exactly what was the cause of the terrible Creeslough tragedy. As I say, a few along those lines. We contacted Gardaí, of course, just to find out. They said, as this is an ongoing investigation, on Garda Síochána has no comment at this time. Okay, and we respect and understand that. Right, is Micheál Colm there? Can you hear me now? No, I can not hear you. All right, that's gone all together. Closing all that, get rid of everything, and we'll bring it back in. Trying to do too many things at the one time, you see, that's my problem. Right, more comments here. Hi, Greg. I have little respect for farmers. I live in a very rural area and the farmers cut hedges and spread slurry whenever they want. They seem to think the rules do not apply to them. Slurry season we're in at the moment because of the wet weather. It has been extended. No, I'll bring it's fine. I just had to correct this issue anyway. You can rejoin. We could go to line 2. Good morning to you, Micheál Colm.
Imagine why, and it just shows you technology is brilliant when it works.
Well, yeah, the problem is I try and I over-egg the custard. That's my problem.
Shot to the head. Under the hoodie. You did that.
an extremely old bridge. Short Jake through a tree.
It's okay. Thankfully, someone appreciates me. Right, we're talking about the bridge.
We do that in Donegal.
We're talking about the bridge in Dookery, Micheál. 1733. I mean, what a historic thing in the first place. Can you imagine being a fly in the wall as that was being constructed? I love history and I love the notion of it and our ancestors at this crack. But it is a beautiful bridge, and we're looking at some video of it right now here for those watching the show. Talk to us about it.
Well, I'm not so sure if my dates are correct. I know that some of the people in the Dookery will be listening, so they've been better positioned than I am to give the proper dates. Initially I was told 1733, and then later this morning I was told 1780. But anyway, round about that period, a very sad, difficult time for the Irish people, considering the poverty and the occupation. And then comes along Cunningham, which was a planter landlord, and built the first bridge across the Gibara. That bridge then was added to it. It's actually a very beautiful bridge, and anybody that goes through beautiful Dookery, you'd nearly forget, you'd nearly not even realise that you're on the bridge. But I would ask people to stop in the village and actually go off the path and see the bridge for what it really is in its full beauty. It's a double arch bridge, and it's stunningly important and beautiful.
And it's a protected structure, isn't it, Micheál Colm?
Yes, it's a protected structure. We have a couple of dozen protective structures within the county. I do know that the minister, who has advised that there should be a couple of hundred, and for one reason or another, the council hasn't put the resources to it, and that's something that I didn't realise until the last couple of days, and I've actually emailed looking for a response for it. But putting that aside, and the main reason why I'm speaking today on radio is to draw attention on the failure of the council to act when reported that the coping stones on the bridge had started to move. There's been an issue on the bridge for a long time in terms of the ivy growing on it. There's trees going on it, and there's a concern by the locals themselves. I was in and shopping yesterday. That's the wee beautiful shop that's in Dookery. Anybody passing, please do stop and shop there. Small village shops are really important. But we were talking about it, and the structure of the bridge. There's some concern because that bridge would have been initially, obviously, a couple of 100 years ago, built to carry nothing heavier than a couple of horses and carts, or what we would have had at the time would have been only donkeys. And now with the heavy vehicles, because it's our main route. If you leave on Mohalia, heading for Ballinaffinia, heading for Liscanla or Balbafay. So it's a really important bridge, and it's important that we actually make sure that the bridge doesn't start giving way in any shape or form through time.
And what is the coping, just for those who may not be aware, because every day is a learning day, the coping stones are the stones that sit atop the walls, effectively, of the bridge. And I presume if they are there and they're well fixed, it stops anyone. It stops anyone maybe pushing some of the bridge into the water or picking stones off and creating these holes that have been created there. Looking at it in terms of that part of the work that needs doing, and we can talk more about the general structure that might need work. It just needs really the motivation to do it. It's not for a skilled stonemason. They wouldn't be long, I don't think, bringing the top part of that bridge into a good state of repair really quite quickly if the will was there.
Yes, look, the thing here is, and this is what's really important, and it's a listed structure, is that you have to have a specialised, qualified team of people to carry out this work. There are grants available for this, up to, I think, some to 80% available to the council. So I can't imagine that extra 20% would be that difficult to get. But the problem here is that when it was initially reported, there was only one or two stones. And I believed that could be, them stones could have been retrieved. But what's happened over this last couple of days or this last week, and I'm not going to get into the finger pointing in terms of who's at fault. It's happened, and that's just the reality of it. But as you can see from what I sent Caroline or earlier, is that there's quite a lot of coping stones missing.
Yeah.
And it's like a broken window syndrome. Once you break one, you find the others will start breaking. And it's disappointing. And it's not that I want to just use this opportunity just to have a rattle at the council, but I think this bridge, like many of our other structures that was built by the occupiers and the planters, you know, as much as we mightn't like it, but they're important and they're historical, and we need to maintain it, and we need that investment.
Stay where you are. Stay where you are, because Dr. Andrea Redmond, Duke Redevelopment, Tidy Towns also. Good morning, Andrea. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning, Greg, and good morning, Councillor Micheál.
And it's good to get this on the agenda, but you've obviously this has been under the attention of the group for quite some time, and we can go back to 2021 when you were calling on the council to, I suppose, really shore up what was there, repair what was there, because you predicted, I think, really the damage that was to come. So we've lost a couple of years from your first calls, Andrea.
We did. We raised this issue when we had a new committee formed, and we took stock basically of our beautiful village and things like the outhouse, and tried to get a preservation order, which again hasn't been put through. But we had serious concerns about the bridge because there were stones missing at the top, and we also had members of our heritage committee. Seamus Cole had gone in underneath, was concerned about ivy and the impact that might have on the structure. But at the minute now, Greg, to see if you walk the bridge, it's literally, the bridge just comes up to your waist. So there's a serious health and safety issue. The issue that we had, and we've had great support from Micheál, is to try and work through kind of the mire that is the council and council's departments, and to get the right hand speaking to the left hand or working in tandem, because we would go to one department and they would say, oh, you have to get special stone masons and blah, blah, blah. We're a small committee. We don't have that expertise. We don't have that money. And we don't own the bridge. It's literally owned by council and by road service, and we believe it's their responsibility.
And it's a protected structure, but the job of protecting 100%. That structure is not the local community or the local groups. Now, we've talked about the top of the bridge, Andrea. In terms of, you know, inspecting underneath, as you and Micheál Colm also pointed out, this was built really for horses and carts, donkeys and traps. But obviously it's taken some heavy vehicles now, for which it wasn't designed for. Are we adequately and we've seen similar with the bridge at the bottom of Letterkenny here. Are we ensuring and inspecting underneath to make sure that its structure is sound and that we're not doing damage that will end up being irreversible?
Well, this is the major question that we have at the minute. You know, what is the time scale for regular structural analysis of these historic routes? Because if you stop and think of people now, if that closes because of damage or safety issues, how are people to get from Fentown onto Dunlow? You know, it's a major arterial route that needs to be protected. So not only because it's a historic property or a historic site, but also because it's a major arterial route it would severely impact residents, schools, tourism, and that type of thing. So we're asking, you know, what is, and I think there was a bridge survey done, maybe it was 2006 or something, and I was actually reading it, and I think they proposed to have a regular structural analysis of these bridges. I don't know has it been done. It's very difficult to get a straight answer. They just seem to say, one aspect of council will say, oh, well, that's such and such, you go and see such and such, and then you go to them, and they, you know, so we're not getting any further ahead, and we do have serious...
Would you like to see, obviously, it assessed for its structural soundness, but also, you know, the walls, they probably have a name, restored. Would you like to see the ivy off it pointed? Because it is beautiful now, but I think it would become a real extra special landmark if the ivy was taken from it and it was pointed respectfully and appropriately where it needed to be looked after. And is that the view of the committee?
Yes. Yes, I mean, the thing about ivy undermines the structure because it works its way in through the stone. And, you know, we can't go out, I could go out with a trowel and a bit of cement and put in some of those capstones, but we can't touch it because it's a protected structure. You need specialist stone masons. So, I mean, we couldn't go out and try to pull the ivy off because, you know, we could do further damage. So literally we have to sit and watch the thing disintegrate in front of our eyes. Like we've raised the issue in 2021, you know, and we warn council, look, there's several stones loose. Now, it just looks shocking at the minute.
And what's worrying too, from a safety perspective, it doesn't look like it would be very difficult for minded individuals to actually toss quite a lot of that bridge into the river without the capping stones and what have you. Okay,
100%.
Micheál Colm, how are you going to progress this then? So from within the council, because we've heard from Dr. Redmond the frustration that's there, and Dr. Redmond, a voice of the community. I'm sure many people sharing her frustration is what I'm saying effectively. So how do you, as an elected rep for that area, progress this within the council?
Well, you know, as Dr. Edmund has says, and the great work that herself and Janice and others are doing in the area, and I feel kind of a bit embarrassed as local councillor that steps hasn't been taken long before this, and we shouldn't have to be forced onto radio to bring attention to it. But it's not just the ivy for me in relation to the structure of the building or the bridge. It's also that now we see knotweed encroaching on it as well, and it's something that I think that the council should look to help to address, because the knotweed itself will have a massive impact on the bridge. And what I'll be doing is obviously raising it with the council and continue to raise it with the council, but the main thing, and I spoke to a senior engineer today, and in fairness, the engineer was correct. He says, look, it's not fair that a committee has to constantly write, and myself constantly in contact, to get the departments within the council to actually co-work with each other. At the end of the day, I can't go and say, listen, it's this department and that department, it's not their fault, it's their fault. People don't care. You're just a council. Get it fixed. We're neglected enough as it is in West Donegal. Dury's a wee beautiful village that has been shockingly neglected over the years. And now we have a fantastic committee who are capable and able and willing to put it up a notch, put that village on a map, and we as a council cannot continue to ignore them.
But in the response to you, it's not really clear who's responsible. The Roads Office might have an advisory role. The Heritage Office, though, doesn't have the authority to take on the work, but the Heritage Office can provide information on who might be able to do the work, and perhaps maybe some money might be available from historic. I appreciate whoever put this answer together. Actually, I know who it is, and you know his heart would be in the right place, but it seems to be falling between stools. It's kind of frustrating.
Well, this morning I did find out that there is a Road Central bridge design, and maybe I don't have the right terminology for that department, but it does come under the remit of the road section of Creeslough. So we need to move now. We need to find out. I have got a guarantee today that next week's meeting on roads that I'll have a more up-to-date answer. And I don't believe for 1 minute that there's a lack of willingness on the local staff, because our local staff are more than capable and able and willing. But what we need to have done in 2021, when this was highlighted and raised, we should have put our heads together and said, listen, let's move in this.
All right, okay. Thanks very much, Micheál Colm. And finally, Dr. Redmond, I'm sure you appreciate us raising this issue. I'm sure you appreciate the work Micheál Colm is doing on this, and I'm sure you appreciate the response from the council. But we've kind of done talking now, aren't we? This is a beautiful, historic, protected bridge. Let's crack on and do something about it. All right, thanks so much for your time, Andrea.
Thank you so much,
Take care of yourself. That's Dr. Andrea Redmond and also Councillor Micheál Colm McGill-Asperg.
The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Sarah moved back first and then Stephen moved in beside her. With this new fibre broadband, they can work from home, so they don't need to live in the city. They love being back, of course. And I suppose there's no harm that they've a free babysitter on hand whenever they want it.
National Broadband Ireland is delivering our high-speed fibre broadband network to homes, schools and businesses across Ireland, no matter how remote or rural.
Granny! Oh, yes, dear.
Find out more at nbi.ie. NBI, building a limitless Ireland, supported by the Government of Ireland.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace.
It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Have you booked yet? Imagine this. You're sipping a cocktail by the pool, the sun is shining, and the sweet sounds of country music are in the air. That's right, we're talking about the Highland Radio Hoolie in sunny Salou, where you can escape the cold and enjoy the ultimate country music getaway.
You don't want to miss your chance to be part of this unforgettable experience. Join us in the beautiful resort of Salou from the 14th to the 21st of September 2024 for a week of non-stop country music and crack.
What are you waiting for? Don't let the winter blues get you down. To secure your spot now at the hottest hoolie in town, call 07491 19955 or email info@countrymusictours.ie. The Highland Radio Hoolie in Salou. Your ticket to sun, fun and the best country music. See you there.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport, where you can now fly daily to London Heathrow with Aer Lingus and connect via Heathrow to over 80 destinations worldwide, including Boston, New York and more.
Okay, so the rain beginning to break up now, and the afternoon it'll stay mostly cloudy, quite blustery too, with moderate to fresh southwest winds and highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. Staying quite cloudy tonight with patchy rain and drizzle. Mild overnight though, with lowest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees and a moderate southwesterly breeze. So give us a little bit of a respite maybe from having the heating or the fire on as much as one might expect to in October. I was informed just in the last wee while that there might have been flooding in Burton Port. I know 2018, obviously, Burton Port very, very heavily affected by flooding, but I didn't get any information overnight, which is a little unusual, or this morning, but I've been told there was flooding in Burton Port last night. Sorry, I'm mixing Burton Port up with another part of the county. Burton Port wasn't affected in 2018, was it? Anyway, listen, that's what happens when you go off the top of your head. But we'll follow that up if need be throughout the rest of this day and into tomorrow. No comment from the Gardaí. A whole year has passed and still no outcome of the ongoing investigation. What's the hold-up? Why the delay? Not good enough. The one thing I would say, given the events of last year, is that it has to be a extremely thorough investigation, and there are many elements and strands to that investigation, because let's just say charges were brought. I'm not saying they are or will be, but let's just say they would have to be based in extremely forensic and thorough investigation. So to be honest, it's not surprising to me, and this is not in any way to say it should take this long, but it's not surprising to me that it is taking this long. I understand the Gardaí considering whether or not to release a statement to coincide with the anniversary of the tragedy. We shall see. Are the council not cutting hedges in Ardra this year? The Mahara Road narrow enough as it is? I don't know. We can chase that up. A phobia. We talked about phobia earlier on and some strange phobias. Cola mentioned someone in her circle who has a phobia of being alone. They're okay to go outside, but they will not be alone under any circumstances, including while travelling. Has anyone got any experience with this type of phobia or be able to advise? So it's not like a fear of outdoors or indoors. It's simply a fear of being on their own. And I think if a psychologist were involved in that, they would want to maybe drill down into what is the cause of that phobia. Does anyone have contact for the cure for shingles? Are we doing that? Okay, well, I don't know. If we can find out the information, we'll pass it on to the caller. Listen, that's where we have to leave it on the show today. Tomorrow, we, of course, have the Friday panel lined up to discuss the big stories of the day and of the week. And that's entertainment from 11 and much more besides. But for me, Greg Hughes and Caroline O, who researched and produced the show, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Stay tuned. John Bresson's coming up around the